Looks like a good one.
Have a hat on. We're live. All right. Wrist. Thing back there.
He said he was coming.
I'm looking, I'm scanning. No. You see? Okay. I'd like to call this meeting to order, the regular meeting for Tuesday, August 4th, 2026. I'd like to announce that all the aldermen are present. And if Mr. Stephen Glorioso would lead us in the invocation and Alderman Wade in the pledge.
Everybody, please bow your head. Lord, please give me the strength when I feel weak. Lift me up when I'm tired. Carry me through my heavy days. Give me courage to face my fears. Take away my doubt. Help me to brave when the road is hard. Give me guidance for my next steps. Show me the right way to go. And be a light on my path so I do not get lost. Thank you for listening to me and for walking by my side. In Christ's name we pray.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, do we have a motion to accept the agenda?
So moved.
Motion by Alderman Hinton, second by Alderman Pfeiffer. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, we got public hearings, 111 Industrial Park Circle. I need to make a motion to go into a public.
Make a motion to go into public hearing for 111 Industrial Park Circle.
Motion by Alderman Blackman, second by Alderman Wade. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we're in public hearing. Where is Miss Amanda?
Come here. Change seats for you. Good evening. For this property on Tuesday, July 14th, the Planning Commission held a public hearing to consider a request submitted by Laura Bolton for a zoning map amendment to rezone the subject property located at 111 Industrial Park Circle from M1 Manufacturing, Warehousing, and Service District to the CH Regional Commercial District. The subject property consists of approximately 1 acre in size and is located in Ward 5. The property is directly adjacent to CH facility to the north, and to the south, east, and west is M1 district. The M1 district is the manufacturing, warehousing, and service district mentioned previously, and is intended to accommodate light industrial activities and service-oriented businesses that are generally not appropriate in commercial corridors or near residential neighborhoods. So the request tonight is to essentially downzone the property to CH, which is regional commercial, which is the city's highest intensity commercial district. Is intended to accommodate larger scale commercial uses and serve the community and surrounding region. The property does contain an existing building, as you see on the staff report there. It was previously occupied by a variety of commercial uses, including retail businesses, professional offices, health and wellness services, and the applicant has identified a prospective coffee shop that would like to be in this location. However, food services are not allowed to be in the M1 district, so she's requesting to rezone to the CH district instead. Also to note that pursuant section 2.15.5 of the UDC, things to consider when rezoning a property would be to whether the proposed rezoning is consistent with the adopted comprehensive plan, whether there was an original mistake in the original zoning map or a change in character of the surrounding neighborhoods, and also whether the proposed zoning demonstrates a public need. The applicant was present at the Planning Commission meeting. She did address the commission. She stated that the character of the surrounding neighborhoods changed significantly since it was originally zoned M1. At the public hearing, no letters of opposition were received from the public, and no members spoke in opposition or for the request. So the Planning Commission did recommend approval of the rezoning request.
Okay. Is there anyone from the public that would like to speak for this amendment? Or is there anyone from the public here that would like to speak against this amendment? If not, is there a motion to close the public hearing?
Make a motion to close the public hearing.
Got a motion by Alderman Blackman, second by Alderman Stennis. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, is there a motion to approve or deny?
I have a question
Okay.
for planning. So changing zoning and everything is something that we don't kind of really typically want to do in the area. So did the applicant think about getting a special use permit, a variance for the property to operate instead of changing the zoning on the property?
Not particularly. I mean, we just looked at the actual uses inside of the M1, being that food service wasn't listed. She requested to ultimately rezone the property and downzone it instead of upzoning.
Okay, it's just, Ocean Springs doesn't have a lot of M1 zoning, and it's, we're kind of moving in a direction, and I understand that. I just wanted to see if that was something that they had proposed, so, thank you.
I kind of like what you're saying because it's not about the coffee shop. If you rezone, you rezone, and anything then that CH would then become applicable. And we're removing manufacturing off the map where we don't have many of those left. So let's say we discuss a conditional use. What would that look like?
I honestly would have to go back to the UDC to see if it's even an option. In the UDC, it said, food service, there's a line. If there was a conditional use permit allowed, it would have a C in the place of it. Being there was nothing, she chose to rezone the property instead, or request to rezone the property instead.
Well, just looking at the parcel and out in that area, I know that the backside of Industrial Park used to be M1 for industrial. It has been changed over probably the last 15 years. But we're fixing to wind up having two parcels going out to 90 that are going to wind up being boxed in by CH on each side with industrial in the center. I'm not opposed, but I just wanted to make sure that all options were looked at.
All right. Is there a motion to approve
I'll
or
make a
deny?
motion to approve the rezoning of
right.
111 Industrial Park, sir.
Got a motion by Alderman Blackman,
Second.
second by Alderman Stennis. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passed. All right, we have a second public hearing on Groveland Road. Favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, Amanda?
Also on July 14th, the Planning Commission also heard a request from the applicants for Cross Point Capital. It's located on the corner of Groveland and Dina. They're requesting a preliminary plat of Willow Springs subdivision, which is a 29-lot single-family residential subdivision located in Ward 5. The subject property is approximately 9.78 acres in size. It's currently undeveloped and zoned R3 medium-density residential. The minimum lot size in R3 district is 7,500 square feet, with a minimum lot width of 50 feet. The minimum setbacks in this district is a 20-foot front yard setback, 10-foot side, and 20-foot rear. The staff has reviewed the proposed preliminary plat and determined that all lots meet or exceed the minimum requirements of the UDC. Also, the sketch plat has previously been approved by the board on October 7th, 2025. At that time, it was approved for 33 lots. However, applicants, if they so choose, they can decrease numbers in lots, they can never increase. So it was previously approved for 33, but tonight it's 29. The proposed subdivision does include a 50-foot public right-of-way, public infrastructure, 5-foot sidewalks, and also 56 street trees to be installed during the home construction. Also, the UDC requires an open space requirement per development. So being this property is 9.78 acres in size, 20% of that would be 85,203 square feet. The proposed plan tonight does provide approximately 88,196 square feet of open space It is including approximately 24,765 square feet of property along Groveland and Dina that's proposed to be dedicated to the city for future right-of-way and sidewalks for pedestrian pathways. Also, a pedestrian trail is also proposed along the north side of the development within the Mississippi Power easement. And also, which is located behind lots 8 through 13 on the site plan. During the meeting, we did have 2 people speak at the meeting. We did not receive any letters prior to the planning commission meeting. And then the planning commission did make a recommendation to approve the preliminary plat at the meeting.
Okay. I should have asked the last hearing, does anybody on the board have a question for Amanda?
Amanda, was there a wetlands delineation done?
There was, yes, there was wetlands delineation done. Should be.
Is it on here? Didn't see it.
Actually, hold on.
You see it?
I thought there was. There was definitely the wetland, I'm sorry, the. It was the Fish and Wildlife that was included in the packet. I do not have the wetlands delineation. I have the Mississippi Department of Health for water, and then I have the MDEQ stormwater and wastewater systems, and I also have the Fish and Wildlife.
But was there one done, or we just don't have it included?
I believe there was one done, however, I believe this might be here tonight. Yes, thank you. The applicant is here. I'll have him speak if you don't mind, to make sure.
Sure.
Maybe I just don't have it in my file, maybe he does have one.
I got a couple questions first. The proposed trail that you mentioned, who would maintain that once the development's complete and all the open space areas that you talked about?
It was, generally it's the homeowners association, at the end when the developers typically get done with the subdivision. A lot of times the common area is then turned over to the HOA for maintenance.
And all the access and utility easement conflicts have all been resolved? You don't see any, even with that donated future right-of-way, that's all okay?
Yes, ma'am.
And then, I know Steve had asked the question about the core, but that's what I was kind of wondering is what storm event was used for detention and downstream analysis to make sure no adverse impact to Groveland or Dina is going to occur?
Yes, ma'am, yeah, I believe Nick did address a lot of that in the
Okay.
planning commission meeting, so I was let professional do that for me, so I won't mess that up.
I have a question when,
Okay, go ahead, Julie.
so the proposed area to be dedicated to the city, so later, hence the proposed, later can they say, well, I changed my mind, I don't want to dedicate that area, is that possible?
Typically, when you record the plat, it's written on the plat who maintains the easements and common areas, which is ideal. Usually, put the homeowners association. If there is no HOA, it's typically the aggregate lot owners surrounding that neighborhood, surrounding those lots.
But the area they're going to dedicate to the city for the right-of-way and sidewalks and whatnot, that's set in stone, even though it says proposed?
Well, I guess it depends on if the city, accepts the right of ways. It is going to be a donation from the owner slash, developer of the property. Dina is for the extended, roadway expansion, and then Groveland we have to accept, the donation of the land. Otherwise, if we don't, then it would just become part of their open space. It would not be given to us.
Would that be mentioned like on their plans, they have to have stamped and dated? That would be kind of a way to show proposed space that would be donated?
The plat
Okay.
recorded.
Perfect, thank you.
All right, anybody else got another question? If not, Nick, would you like to?
So Nick Gant, Brown Mitchell and Alexander, 131 Route Magnolia in Biloxi, authorized agent on behalf of Crosspoint Capital LLC. So I'll address the questions and if you guys have any more. So a wetland delineation was done. That was submitted to the Corps. The wetlands were ruled non-jurisdictional by the Army Corps of Engineers. So what that means is we have no mitigation, no U.S., states of the U.S., requirements with that. Now, we did have to go through NDEQ to get an LCNOI or construction notice of intent. when we went through that, because, you know, the rules are changing with the second ruling, DEQ put us through a little bit more of a rigorous approval process where it provides more information and things like that for them. So, yes, a wetland delineation was done. They were ruled non-jurisdictional, and I can provide a copy of that to the city if they want. Stormwater. So the city's requirement is a 25-year pre-versus post. That is what we did for this development. Fortunately for us, we are also the engineers of record for the Dina Road project. So we had a pretty good size stormwater model built for that project. So we were able to incorporate this into that Dina Road project. And as part of this, we indicated that there is no increase in flooding in any of the surrounding junctures adjacent to the site. Open space. So, yes, it is proposed as part of this. When it comes to final plat, if we get the final plat and I'm not dedicating that to the city, then you guys can say deny until, because that was something we wanted to see. So you can deny at that time final plat and say, we gotta have this.
All right, thank you, Nick.
Yeah, any other questions, happy to come back up and answer.
Okay, is there anyone here from the public that would like to speak for this amendment or this development? Now, is there anyone here to speak against this development? Okay, yes, sir. You don't mind, state your name and address for the record, please.
My name is Richard Carson. I'm in Ward 5, living in the Baywood subdivision. My address is 3909 Baywood Lane. I previously spoke in opposition at the planning meeting to the Willow Springs development on Groveland until additional drainage could be constructed. Of course, the planning commission voted it through. The developer's solution to drainage is to widen the ditch along the property, which is a joke as far as I'm concerned. The trend with these more modern developments is to bring in fill dirt to build the property much higher. Whether it's apartments, subdivisions, or businesses, they are all being built higher than Baywood. It even appears they built the Chick-fil-A property up about 5 feet, if you look at the retaining wall on the east property line. So all of this rainwater is being displaced to a lower level, which includes Baywood. I believe the city should improve our stormwater drainage before they allow any more developments in Ward 5, which displace their rainwater. I moved into Baywood in 1999, and I've seen several times when we've had heavy rains, Dina and Groveland are underwater from one end to the other. So I'm in opposition to this until some major drainage improvements are done. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else like to speak against the development? If not, do we have a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
Motion by Alderman Hinton, second by Alderman Wade, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, is there a motion to approve or deny?
I have a question before we move forward, and this is going to go to Sarah. Question is on Dina Road, what is the time frame on widening and all the drainage improvements on Dina? I know that's been in the works for a while. What are we looking at?
So we're scheduling a pre-con for next week, and then we'll have a notice to proceed date from there, and then I can give you a more definitive completion date.
Okay.
But possibly maybe a month out,
From starting.
speculating? Okay.
Nice. Okay,
So this subdivision will drain into the new drainage along Deanna?
This subdivision actually floods drainage on all sides. There's 2 major ditches on the north and west side of this subdivision. So it's,
Two different sides.
I think that is a valid question though with all the stormwater issues we've seen, you know, with those 2 roads. I think the sales apartments, I think I've heard that they're worsening issues after those were built. I do have concerns on approving that based on those issues.
On the Dina Road project, are we addressing drainage when we're working with that new road?
So an increase in capacity.
And it splits at Groveland, some go south and some goes north.
All right. Is there a motion to approve or deny?
Make a motion to approve.
Motion by Alderman Blackman. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Got a second by Alderman Stennis. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Nay.
Okay, ayes have it. All right. I would like to take this time to recognize a couple of our Mayor's Youth Council that stepped in to join us tonight. Thank y'all for coming tonight. Glad to have you here. And they are in the good-looking light blue shirts sitting over there. Okay, so now we'll move on to agenda public comment. Public is invited to address the board for up to 5 minutes each for a maximum period of 30 minutes, only regarding issues listed on this agenda. Please identify yourself and the agenda item. If no agenda item is stated, you will be asked to hold your comment until the general public comment at the end of the meeting. So, do we have anybody over here on the right that would like to address the board? Anybody? No? Okay. One of you from the center? Come. Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am.
Good evening, my agenda item is F and U. And I've got it here.
What was that? Item what?
F is in Frank and U. And I'm.
What's the number? 7? Is it under consent agenda?
Oh, I'm sorry.
7,
Okay,
F and
I think it is. Yeah, item 7F is in Frank. And then at the bottom it says Planning Commission U. I'm Janet Villalobos, and I live at Ward 6 at address 227 Madison Place Drive. And I have a few questions and comments. Number one, I'd like to say that the City of Ocean Springs has unintentionally created a series of property owner liabilities, both current and future. And here's a few questions and comments that I have. A, who's responsible for the maintenance costs for the common areas, conservation easements, and detention ponds? Is there a long-term budget for this with responsibility? And would the city recommend a conservation land trust for these areas? B, 20 homes along the wooded side of Madison Place Drive have a 25-foot drainage easement at the rear of each property. And this easement was not completed by the city's Public Works Department. But I understand that they've recently come out to review it and that they've indicated they will do this work. This is 7 years after the initial building of the homes, and I think this requires urgent action to complete. Has the builder accepted all corrections to the community as required by the Corps of Engineers in the city? And will these corrections be monitored and reported on? What recourse do the existing homeowners have with the city if the builder is non-compliant with corrections and building codes? For most homeowners, their home is their most important and largest single asset. Nationwide, the top 3 reasons for lawsuits against home builders are 1, water intrusion and moisture damage, 2, foundation and soil issues, 3, poor workmanship and code violations. Note, I personally witnessed that the construction crew put tree debris through a wood chipper, mound up in piles as high as 30 feet, and distributed this evenly across all of the new lots on Madison Place Drive and a few of the lots on Gibson Road. And I can't imagine that if you took a soil sample below where the concrete pads will be poured, and 2 of them have already been poured, that you wouldn't find wood chip material. I appreciate your time. Thank you for your service to our city.
Thank you.
So this is also 7U. My name is Laura Parker. I live at 106 West Wind Court.
in Madison Place. We were actually the original homeowners from the first developer. And at the time we bought our home, we were told that conservation area behind us would not be developed. And I have a photograph that shows this is what it looked like outside my carport when you come out my back door from the time until this picture was taken in 2024. This is when they started to clear, and this is what it looks like today. So we found out before 2024 that they were going to develop on the other side of the street, even though they originally told us they weren't. This is the second developer, Elliott Homes. And so we came to meetings like this at that time. And with negotiating with the builder at that point, they said that they would leave a 30-foot buffer between our property and the new development, and would do that in other places in the subdivision as well. As the map over there that has the blue areas, places that were cleared that shouldn't have been cleared, there's the one by the existing homes on both sides, and well, on our side, and then where the new homes will be. And we got an email saying that from that builder, that he would leave that 30-foot.
This is where she lives.
Buffer.
This is
It was
what
all
was supposed to
clear. It
stay.
was completely clear.
That's the clearing.
And the blue is
We
well.
mentioned that to the current builder, and so they planted 5 trees for us. And there are 5 trees this tall, and then about as tall as me. So 2 as tall as me, 3 about this tall. So that's one thing I want to make you aware of. The second thing I wanted to address is that in talking about the different Unified Development Code criteria that we feel has not been met, one is at the detention pond, there's a scouring that my husband is going to point to. And what's happening there is the swirl of the current when there is heavy rainfall is wearing down that bank. Now, they've done some work in there, they've improved the water area, and they've done another overflow, but that bank has not been touched. It's wearing underneath the trees, and it's going to the chain link fence along the cabanas. You can't see it unless you stand on top of the water control place. And that, if that continues, if that's not improved, what's gonna happen is those trees are gonna fall into the detention pond, and that bank is gonna be eroded. Potentially, the fence will fall into the detention pond, and there's a service road back there that, for the cabanas, that could also be affected. This could take 5 years, and at that point, the HOA will be responsible, as we've heard, the homeowners association, for these types of repairs, and they will be very expensive. We'll have to first take those trees out of the detention pond. We'll have to pick up any debris. We'll have to rebuild the bank, solidify the bank, possibly even do the road. It would be much easier to stabilize that bank now, rebuild it, stabilize it with riprap, or however you do it. I'm not an engineer, but it'd just be much less expensive. So that's what we're asking for, rather than waiting for a disaster that's coming later. And if we have a wet spring like we did this time, it could be less time than that. Or a major storm like a hurricane, or, things that could happen. So, thank you.
Those pictures were taken before the last work they did, because I was out there.
These are current pictures.
They had a lot dug up and was doing
This is
quite
the
a bit.
new, they fixed it.
Okay.
This is the new structure they made. This is riprap they brought in. This is the fence that the bank is right here. This is, that's just a different view of it. And this is actually, the water that goes through there runs through, and it's all completely green now, and someone else will address that. So these are all current pictures since the repair.
Yeah, this is today.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Rachel Liebling. I'm at 223 Madison Place Drive. And as a resident of Madison Place raising a young family, the long-term safety, infrastructure, and quality and financial stability of our community is deeply personal to me, to us, and to many people who aren't here that live in that neighborhood. I am speaking tonight regarding item 7U. While supporting reasonable growth in Ocean Springs, I respectfully urge the board to withhold final plat approval for Madison Place Phase 2B until critical engineering, environmental, and financial compliance requirements are fully certified. First, the motion states as current that the Phase 2B is compliant with city codes, but significant physical defects remain. While repairs were made to the detention pond, water control structure, there is still an active slope failure and an advancing head cut on the south side of the embankment. The erosion has already crossed onto adjacent cabana property and will eventually undermine Coconut Lane. These structural defects must be fully repaired and certified by an independent third-party engineer before final approval, not passed along as ongoing maintenance and essentially onto the HOA. Second, regarding the environmental compliance, Meritage's USACE approved plan to hand plant 25 sampling falls far short of making our community whole after clearing nearly 3 acres and over 1,000 mature trees from our neighborhood. It does not satisfy section 3.9.6 of the Unified Development Code. Finally, our homeowners have not been provided a comprehensive breakdown of long-term maintenance costs to this stormwater infrastructure or the conservation easement. Homeowners should not be forced to inherit developer-created liabilities without full transparency and explicit consent, which, to my knowledge, there hasn't been a single notion of consent, nor a single conversation between the HOA and the developer. We are asking the board to protect our neighborhood safety and infrastructure standards. Please hold off on final plat approval until all embankment repairs are completed, code compliance is met, and long-term funding liabilities are clearly defined. Thank you for your time and your leadership tonight.
My name is Sheila Reed. I'm a resident of Ward 6 at 201 Madison Place Drive, Ocean Springs, Mississippi. My subject is public comment and concerns regarding item 7U, final plat approval for Madison Place Phase 2B, Meritage Homes of Mississippi Inc. and drainage on the August 4th, 2026 regular agenda. First of all, I would like to thank the City and Board of Aldermen for hiring DMA to address the detention pond UDC 5.10.10 post-construction stormwater control violations. Madison Place 1 consists of 39 homeowners. Meritage Homes proposes to construct 51 homes in Madison Place 2. Madison Place 1 and 2 would be an approximate $30 million valued subdivision. That's just on an average. On June 9, 2026, the Planning Commission provided conditional approval of Phase 2B final plat, subject to verifying the need for a U.S. ACE mitigation plan, compliance with UDC and prior approvals. On June 24, 2026, members of our community identified issues with Madison Place 2 detention pond water control structure and bank stabilization issues in 3 areas in the pond. BMA was then hired by the city and determined in July of 2026 that the detention pond infrastructure issues needed to be completed immediately rather than deferred upon completion of Madison Place 2C. To my knowledge, the Planning Commission has not been briefed on the June 24th Madison Place 2 detention pond issues. As a matter of procedure, I am requesting that Meritage Homes be required to update the Planning Commission and general public with resolutions to the June 24th complaints prior to Board of Aldermen consideration of this conditional, partially informed motion by the Planning Commission. BMA has also recommended additional stabilization measures to date that have not been met. In addition, was there an updated hydrologic study to determine if stormwater detention capacity is adequate considering current conditions in the area for the number of homes being constructed? The city should not grandfather in older studies that likely do not consider compound flooding effects caused by tidal backwater at Highway 90 and also at Gibson Road. The most recent stormwater study that I am able to locate for this project is dated in 2018. That's an 8-year-old study. To date, Meritage Homes is still in non-compliance with UDC 5.10.10 post-construction stormwater controls, which requires the design and construction of an on-site stormwater detention facilities and provides that they must safely pass stormwater inflows, including flood flows and runoff. Meritage Homes has only repaired the damaged pre-existing wear structure, which currently has a crack in the patched area. That was just repaired. I walked it Monday and it is already cracked. So it was not done professionally. 2 detention pond erosion areas remain in non-compliance with no remediation. See photos 1 and 3. I apologize for these photos attached to this because I don't have a color printer, but I did submit this to be part of the record earlier this afternoon, and we have them here. Excessive erosion exists in the south side of the detention pond adjacent to the road parallel with the south side detention pond fence and is currently eroded close to the fence line. This erosion poses a potential infrastructure threat along Coconut Lane and a flood threat to the occupants and homeowners in the cabanas. The specific erosion is over 6 foot deep and 5 foot wide. With heavy rains and potential hurricanes and tropical storms in 2026, this area, if not addressed and repaired, will most likely flood and undermine the road. The potential road company compromise creates a possible infrastructure flood threat to the homes and vehicles and possible injury to the persons who reside at the cabanas. The potential liability and cost to repair the existing head cut could be avoided now if Meritage Homes will comply with UDC 5.10.10. As you are aware, Meritage Home violated UDC 3.9.6 conservation subdivisions by clearing the wetlands in the designated conservation area, resulting in the removal of 20 to 30-year-old mature loblolly splash pines as well as other vegetation. While Meritage Home mitigation covers only in our section, we're section 1 of Madison Home, 0.47 acres, actually clearing in the conservation easement and beyond project boundaries was approximately 2.75 acres. No fine was imposed as a result of this negligence. However, the US ACE required Meritage Home to prepare a mitigation plan to replenish the trees and vegetations in the Madison Place 1 section of the conservation violation. Over 300 trees were bulldozed down. One tree alone removes 50 to 100 pounds of carbon daily, and one tree removes 50 to 100 gallons of water. Removal of those trees creates a more flood hazard for us, because that's calculated over a year is 5,475 pounds of carbon and 1,095,000 gallons, and Bobby's fixing to cut me off.
Thank you, Miss Shue. Thank you. Yes, sir.
Good afternoon. I would like to talk about 7U. First, I would like to thank all the Board of Aldermen.
Could you speak into the mic there? We can't hear
My
you.
name is Daniel Wynn. I currently live at Madison Place 117 West Wind Court. So my background is I used to be a property manager in Atlanta, and I deal with a lot of high rises, HOAs, shopping center, mid rises, and mixed use condos. So as I moved down here, my new background is an insurance adjuster. So I go out and deal with claims. Now, I would like to put on the record what I am concerned about is fire risk within our community. Currently, there is a forest conservation within our community that is not being taken care of by the developer, Meritage Home of Mississippi. The developer was supposed to do the initial overgrowth prevention for fire hazard, also known as management plan commitment made by the current contractor and developer. So currently, this is the area right here. So as you can see, that some of the overgrowth is up against the fence of some of the homeowners back here, and they're not maintaining it. So, and they never took care of it. So the planning was to cut back the overgrowth within the conservation area to create a buffer zone between the conservation area and the homeowners within the community should a forest fire occur. As you are aware, back in 2019, there was a forest fire that started on the east side of Gibson Road. With the help of south winds, the fire moved northward. It took over 2 days to be completely put out. Should there have been a west wind that day, the fire could have taken over the entire conservation area and most likely the homes on West Wind Court. So currently, it started here, and the wind blew it all the way up here, and it burned over here on that day. So if the wind would have blown over here, it would have burned all of this area and into these neighborhoods over here. So all of that is such a disaster area, and that's the fire path. All of this was fire. So with my experience in HOA management, the initial cost to cut back this overgrowth can cost anywhere between $15,000 to $30,000. as maintaining can also be anywhere between 4 to 8,000 depending on annual or biannual maintenance. I've spoken with multiple homeowners, especially there's 8 of us here. We all agree that the community cannot afford this. Should this be passed on, should Meritage Home pass this responsibility on over to the HOA, that passover will force the HOA to be dissolving itself. So we will not be taking care and maintaining it, and that responsibility will be on the city of Ocean Springs because y'all approved them to be, y'all approved the plat and in that plat saying that they have to maintain that and take care of it. I believe that Mississippi law does recognize inverse condemnation, which would allow insurance companies to subrogate the losses against the city of Ocean Springs for negligence by not maintaining the overgrowth should the association dissolve itself. This will cause, and if there was a fire started, and if there's any home in there, the insurance company will come after in the city of Ocean Springs. So for a quick breakdown, my home insurance is at $250,000 for dwelling, $100K for content, $50,000 for other structures for a total of $400,000. And I'm just one of the smallest houses in the community. So therefore I can estimate within each of the community, each home is around $500,000, $500,000. There are currently 39 homes and Meritage wants to build another 51 for a total of 90 homes. So with 90 homes at $500,000, that brings to a grand total of $45 million. That would be the responsibility of Ocean Springs should there be a fire in there because we don't plan to dissolve ourselves. And I deal with a lot of forest fire in California. I deal with a lot of losses, homes that are over $1 million plus, and this is what happens all the time. So I am asking the Board of Aldermen to have Meritage Home do the initial overgrowth prevention and maintain it until it is passed over to the HOA for management after they finish it. And thanks for listening to my concerns.
Good evening. Robert Schwartz. I'm an attorney with Schwartz, Ortner, Jordan & Williams. My address is 2137 East Pass Road, Gulfport, Mississippi, 39507. I'm here regarding item on old business 5E, question over city jurisdiction over developments from Jackson County. I represent a company, O Capital LLC. O Capital LLC is currently the owner of one or more developments that were in Jackson County that were annexed into the city of Ocean Springs. O Capital LLC is currently in litigation against David Messenger and Christopher Michael Messenger, who are relatives of one of their Board of Aldermen members. That is filed in the Chancery Court of Jackson County, Mississippi, cause number 2026-0449. I have a copy of that complaint that I'll give you to put in your record tonight. We also have a copy of the answer and counterclaim filed this very day by the Messengers against O Capital LLC in that matter. I've also brought for you an ethics opinion, which is Ethics Advisory Opinion number 24009E, which discusses the proprietary nature of aldermen who may be directly interested or may have family members who are interested in matters that are before this body. I likewise have for you a copy of Mississippi Code Annotated Section 25.4.105 that deals with certain activities and business relationships that are prohibited under Mississippi law. I bring all these to your attention before this matter comes before this body and ask that those be made part of your record tonight. We believe that it would be inappropriate for any alderman member to vote or bring a motion before this body when it impacts a matter that involves a direct family member and or litigation involving a family member. And we wanted you to simply be aware of that before you proceed this evening. Thank you.
Good evening, thank you. Item 7U, Madison Place, 2B, development. I have two handouts that I would like to go in the record. If I could, I'm Steve Parker, 106 West Wind Court. I live adjacent to the development. I live right here. When this project started and the clearing began, they simply stopped at their project limits. I still have a band of trees between me and this development. They didn't, they went over. So I'll get to that, but I have several things. I want to ask you to defer this until the applicant debriefs the planning commission and the public on their remedies for the post-motion UDC violations in the detention pond, which are still not complete. I'd also like to provide a summary of the net loss to the city from the USACE approved mitigation plan. Might be good enough for the Corps, but I do not believe it meets your section 396 as you would like to interpret it. Of course, that's your decision. And I want to remind you that the proposed motion that is before you, or that will be before you, is to approve and state that all UDC requirements are met. They are not under section 396, and they're certainly not for 5.10.2 post-stormwater controls. Let me hit this one first. Let me just get this one out of the way. This checklist, I went into your UDC and I made a checklist. And the title of this thing is Green Infrastructure As-Builts. Very much like you do as-builts for hard infrastructure, green infrastructure is going to become more important. There are, and let me just quickly give you the summary. There are 36 items on the list. I could check yes to 5, no to 13. 13 items and question mark for another 13 and 1 NA. So the scorecard, please do not approve a motion that this current final plat approval is current with the UDC without considering this. And then quickly I'm going to move on to the map. On June 9th, I had this map. In late July, Google Earth updated, thank you, Lord. And so I could get accurate measurements. In green is what they are restoring under the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers mitigation plan, 0.47 acres. When you add it all up, it's 2.75, and in 2 places, they're beyond their boundaries onto other people's property. Here and here. If you flip to page 2 of this handout, that's got the map. I do the totals. I did my own study since the consultant representing this applicant did not. The trees cleared, instead of 4 areas, there are actually 8 areas cleared. All you have to do is look on Google Earth to find that. I calculated the number of trees we lost, about 354 west of Gibson, about 222 east of Gibson, and that fire coming through knocked out a few of the undergrowth trees that weren't pine, so I discounted that. So we've got a total of 860 trees lost. Thank you, Sheila, for the figures on carbon and water. I didn't give that to her. She just looked on her phone, and it's like, dang, you've got a public that understands living in this area, the value of evapotranspiration, habitat, and the things that those trees bring. Since I only have 35 seconds left, how do you get from here to here? The value is calculated on the next page based on a FEMA benefit cost relationship. Those are their figures, not mine. I give you figures of about 1,032 per acre. They say for these, it's almost 9,000. And so there's a big gap. If you agree with this core plan, you are losing about $1 million in ecosystem services. And these are not my numbers, these are the federal government numbers. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Anybody else? Yes, sir.
That's a tough act to follow. So, guys, my name is Derek Bullock. I live at 11529 Hillcrest Road in Gulfport, Mississippi. So, fair enough, I know I've got 5 minutes. A lot of folks came in opposition to item 7U. I'm here on behalf of Meritage Homes. If you wouldn't mind, maybe suspend the rules and I go over 5 minutes, let me continue, just so I can try to address.
I've been holding everybody pretty strict, so keep it as tight as you can.
Well, first off, I sympathize with all the residents. Meritage Homes recently hired me. I'm a civil and environmental engineer, graduated from Mississippi State, to help resolve a lot of these issues that they've had. Unfortunately, they've had a lot of turnover with employment. So my goal is, number one, to please the residents, to please the city, to make sure that we deliver a product that y'all accept, that the residents are happy with, and we want to be good neighbors. I'll try to address each item individually, but I will say this, the 3 areas that were cleared, that was an oversight on the contractor. Trust me, they would not have done that intentionally, especially knowing what we know now. Their surveyor staked out the wrong areas, and that was an oversight on their part. So Meritage Homes is hired Ecosystems, our environmental agent, through Randy Ellis, and they're the ones that developed the restoration plan that was accepted by the Corps of Engineers. And folks, I'm here to tell you that that plan was insufficient, in my opinion, as well. And in Meritage Homes, the contractor will do, whatever y'all request. Obviously, we can't replace 354 trees on those sites, but we're willing to do as many as we can and load in there. If we need to plant some special wetlands plants, buttercups, more magnolias, live oaks. Live oaks are high-value trees versus these pine trees that were 15 to 20 years old that were harvested for wood, years ago. I think that would add a lot more value than just some 15-year-old pines. So a few weeks ago, we got the letter from BMA about the stormwater controls that needed to be corrected. We got the contractor to act as feasibly and fast as possible and addressed all the items that were in that letter from BMA and the planning department. The couple items in the detention pond that were found to have eroded, scoured, however that may have happened, weren't addressed, so our contractor didn't fix them. We'll be happy to restore that bank, especially the weir. So the V-notch weir was restored to original design. But I will say that a lot of the runoff, and it was even included in some of their exhibits, is coming from that abandoned property, the surface runoff into that pond, which is illegal. So that's an item that we need to look at. Let's see. The one gentleman talked about the fire risk. So we recently hired a new HOA property manager, and we can address any issues that are in the common areas that were platted to the city. We'd be happy to do that. Those are actively ongoing. If there were any other issues besides the restoration or the stormwater controls, please meet with me after the meeting, get my number, and I'll be out there and visit with you personally. I'm not a greedy contractor. I'm an employee. I grew up here, South Mississippi, so this is my home too. And I want to have a good name and deliver something that we can all be proud of. I think, ma'am, you talked about recourse from the city. The city, one of the recourses that they can do, if we're uncompliant, is withhold building permits, withhold final plats. And that's kind of why we're here tonight, because that final plat was delayed. So, I think that a couple of the issues, we're right there. We're trying to address everything that we were asked to. If we need to go above and beyond that, we'll be happy to. Meritage gave me full authorization, to do whatever you may ask. So, if y'all are going to decide that these things need to be done before you vote on it, I would ask that you table that item instead of denying it, so we can come to the next meeting and we can all be on good record again. So if you got any questions for me, I'll do my best to answer them.
Thank you. Appreciate that. All right. Anyone else like to address the board? Yes, sir, you want some?
Good evening. James Lewis for 85 Cambridge Drive. I just had a flashback. And listened to all the information that was
Sir, can you speak up, please?
I just had a flashback from all of the information that had been presented on Madison Place. Because the subdivision is right adjacent to me of Cambridge. The key thing is that you are a new administration. You're 14 months in. Key thing is we need to go back in and do the right thing. We can't go back in and these people have done a fantastic job on their presentation tonight. One of the best I've ever seen. And the key thing is that the onus is on the mayor and the board of aldermen to do the right thing. Thank you very kindly, have a nice day.
Thank you. All right, we got one more gentleman. We're past our 30 minutes, but we'll take him.
Got time?
Come on.
All right. My name is Clay McCardle. I live at 70501 Taft Road in Ward 6. And just for transparency, I'm on the planning commission, so I'd like to talk about two issues tonight. One of them is 7U, since we're obviously on that topic. I want to point out a couple things I've noticed about this. I went out with Stephen, I visited with him, he showed me the issues with the detention pond. There's a little disagreement about how many trees were taken down that shouldn't have been taken down. But I want to point out that I don't think we can trust the Corps of Engineers to adequately police conservation areas in our city. These developments. I feel like it's a little unfair that the Corps allowed them to come back with 25 trees, obviously, when they took out many more. And I think that we should take this as a warning that future development in wetland areas, this is going to be an issue later on in the future. And I think that that's something that we should keep in mind. I didn't want to allow this to get past the planning commission, generally speaking, but I believe that just like the residents are asking for here, the council should help them and hold the Meritage Homes, who's the third developer on this site, to make sure they make it all right. None of them are asking for you not to deny it. They're okay with building the homes there. It's just that they need to make sure that the developer holds and corrects all these issues that are there. Now, the other issue I'd like to talk about is issue 5F, which is about the drainage study. If you hadn't heard, water drainage is a big problem in Ward 6. It's a real big problem, especially when it rains hard and water runs over the streets and ditches aren't cleaned out adequately. We need a real drainage study done in Ward 6 that models that we can make decisions on based, from planning standpoint. Whether we're going to develop a development here or there, we really need to know what that development is going to cause in terms of runoff in other places. And so there's two studies, two proposals I noticed in the packet. This is for tonight. One of them is by Brown Mitchell and Alexander, and the other one was by Overstreet. I'm an engineer by trade. I don't do stormwater runoff as a specialty. I'm an electrical engineer, but I write proposals like this all the time. And so, looking at the one from Brown Mitchell and Alexander, it's very well detailed what they're trying to do. I think it's the better of the two, and I recommend that the city approve that one and do that, because we need a model of the water runoff situation in our ward, because it's a really big problem. So thank y'all for your service. I appreciate it.
Thank you. All right, we'll move on to old business. Board.
Mayor, before we got it, I'd like to accept all the documents from public comment and agenda.
Second.
All right, got a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Now we move on to old business, the ordinance introduction, amending Appendix D, Section 510, short-term rentals residential. Anyone have any changes to the presented ordinance?
I've given this a little thought, so I have just some things I want to make sure we've thought through with the changes. Do you have?
Okay.
Amanda, the first one I've got is, we implemented the HOA needs to be notified. That's notification only. They're not to weigh in, they agree, they disagree. The stipulation would be just a requirement to notify that they want to operate a short-term rental.
Which section are you looking at specifically?
I don't really have this, I've got
okay,
notes.
sorry.
I didn't print out this section, sorry. But just, there was a part in there where you added that you need to notify if you live in an active HOA that you would like to apply to operate a short-term rental. That is only for notification only, not to seek approval.
Right, but that was already previously in the other ordinance. There's probably, if there was a section that was updated, it was probably just a couple words. I didn't add that section in there. It was already there.
Okay. When you talked about verified complaint and documented law enforcement response, what is the staff going to use if no citation was issued but there's a complaint? Do you have a process for that as well, outside of?
So if we have various ways you can call in a complaint. Either you can call our office and complain. If you have pictures, we welcome you to email those. We receive phone calls. If we receive a phone call, we'll document that in the system and save it in the file as phone call received. But who it's from, emails, pictures, we take all of that into account and save it into the file.
There's a 3 inspection limit now. And they apply to minor corrections, so are inspection fees charged at the 3 different attempts each time? There's a fee to come out to inspect, is that correct? Or you just pay it the one time?
The overall short-term rental permit fee it's $501 with the administrative fee. That basically covers, up to, I guess, your 3 inspections. The building, we don't charge an extra $25 each time they go out there. Now with this in force, if you only have 3, basically you can't go past that. You have to reapply again, and then again, a new inspection fee would be assessed at that point.
So the 25 would be up to 3 chances to pass inspect. I just want to make sure we're clear on that. Okay, this was something else. Should the ordinance require all online listings to display the city permit number so illegal listings can be more easily identified? That was something we didn't touch on, and it was a thought. And I've seen it in other municipalities, they'll require you put it in your listing. So those were just a few things I thought maybe to consider further.
Yeah, we haven't brought it up before. I'm guessing, I have not seen that previously. I'm not sure if Airbnb or Vrbo, has a section on there. I have not seen that.
You can add it, yeah, I've seen it. Just a consideration is to kind of make it if you get a report that you think something is operating legally, and we require them to put their permit number on the listing, and it's not there, then why? It might be more helpful.
Right, because every permit is issued a permit number on the bottom right-hand corner. So we just haven't talked about it separately. I know there's probably a future, workshop if we want to add that on the, second proposed amendment. We can always add that later.
Okay, for more administrative. Okay.
All right. Is that all you got, Shannon?
That was mine.
Okay. Anybody have a motion?
I don't think there should be.
Well,
Unless, if there's not
it just goes into
any changes, then it just goes to the next one.
effect, so there's no changes. All right. We've got old business 5B, ordinance introduction, amending Appendix D, Section 511, short-term rentals. Does anyone have any changes to the presented ordinance?
So, Mayor, we're still going to talk about the numbers.
Yeah, that'll be at a later date, work session.
And since we're talking about it, can we get the emails sent out to propose dates soon?
So if nobody's got any changes, the ordinance will be ready for adoption at the next meeting. All right, move on to item C. Yep. see you, Matthew. 110A Shearwater Drive requesting approval for a certificate of appropriateness to construct a 18-foot diameter round sitting area with gravel, gray pavers, and gray stone border, along with a 4x24 pathway leading to the existing driveway. Amanda?
Yes, sir. As mentioned before at the previous Board of Aldermen meeting, it was brought up, these two applications are actually applications of a HBC commissioner. This first one for item 5C for 110A Shearwater Drive, this one is for a sitting area. The application was originally scheduled for the May 2026 regular meeting of the HBC. However, the applicant was not present when the item was called at that meeting. So the commission voted to table the application to the June meeting. For the June meeting, a quorum was not established. I ended up holding a special call meeting. At that special call meeting, we had 4 commission members present. All other items on that particular agenda were heard. However, once Mr. White had recused himself, it was his application, we no longer had a quorum. So his application was not able to be heard at that meeting. We attempted again in the July meeting, again was not able to hold a quorum, not enough members were present. So at the request, Mr. Owen had reached out to see if he can get, I guess, assistance in getting his application approved due to the presence of not having a quorum past couple of meetings. We've had this application in our office for this one since about the April timeframe for the May meeting. I know we talked about it at the last meeting, but briefly, he's requesting a certificate of appropriateness for a sitting area. It is a 18-foot diameter circular sitting area consisting of gravel and gray pavers with a gray stone border with a 4-foot by 24-foot pathway connecting the sitting area to the existing driveway. The property is located within the Shearwater Historic District. It is zone R1. The historic design guidelines does state that the modern recreational features shall not be visible from the public right-of-way or located directly in the front yard. This request is actually located on the side of the property, does have a fence in front of the property and some trees and some landscaping to kind of screen it from public view. So as a result, the features not readily visible from the street, it would be therefore consistent with the intent of the historic design guidelines. Public meeting notices, just put on the memo, sorry about that. Public meeting notices were mailed to property owners within a 500-foot notification. We did not receive any public comments on this request. Therefore, we are here tonight. I do have if you guys consider it, there is a potential motion to approve for tonight, and here you guys so move forward with this application.
Okay, anybody have a motion?
I make a motion to approve certificate of appropriateness to construct an 18-foot diameter circular sitting area consisting of gravel with gray pavers, gray stone border, together with a 4-foot by 24-foot pathway connecting the seating area to the existing driveway.
Second.
Got a motion by Alderman Stennis, second by Alderman Hinton. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, item D, 110A Shearwater Drive requesting approval of a certificate of appropriateness to install a 12 by 24 swimming pool in the rear yard, including a concrete pool deck and a 4-foot black aluminum fence surrounding the pool area. Amanda?
Yes, sir. Almost the same situation. However, we did not receive this application back in April. We did receive it later. However, it was attempted at the July meeting, and of course, we were successful in having a quorum. This one was as well sent up for review in front of the Board of Aldermen. This request is for a pool in the rear yard. So again, this one is not visible from the street at all. Will be completely behind the home. This one's for a 12-foot by 24-foot swimming pool, including a concrete pool deck and a 4-foot tall black aluminum fence surrounding the pool area. Again, we're in the Shearwater District. Notifications were also sent out for this one, and also a public yard sign is placed on the property by the mailbox. The public input has been received since notifications. And again, there is a potential motion in the packet. You can also choose to move so.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to approve certificate of appropriateness to install a 12-foot by 24-foot swimming pool in the rear yard, including a concrete pool deck and a 4-foot tall black aluminum fence surrounding the pool area.
Second.
You got a motion by Alderman Stennis, second by Alderman Messenger. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, we move on to item E. City jurisdiction over remaining development following annexation. Alderman Messenger.
So, I can't make this motion, which stems from a concern from a resident in regard to Palmetto Point subdivision. And I cannot vote on this motion due to the fact that there is a pending litigation against my husband and father-in-law by a developer regarding where a fence was placed prior to purchase of land by my father-in-law in the 80s. And I was advised by the city attorney not to vote on this. But I do feel that as a city, we have to approve to take over the final plat now or make any changes later. While I can't vote, I also cannot sit here and not voice my concerns for what's best for the city. Thus, I will recuse.
Okay. Thank you, Julie. This jurisdiction over the development following annexation was an agreement, and I was not in those meetings, but this was an agreement between the city and the county to what started in the county would continue with the county. The permits were pulled within the county planning department, and I personally feel like I think we need to complete it as planned. I'm open to what y'all had to say, and
Well, it's only planned to go through until construction starts, and then that's when we would take over all the inspections of the construction.
So that's what I was gonna ask, we inspect once,
It was-
everything's 100%, is that what you're saying?
No, once construction starts, we start ground up
We start
inspections.
inspecting along the way?
Correct.
No.
No, I
Pretty
think
much.
they see it all the way through and then we come in at.
final plat.
Talk to Daryl, let's not.
What happened, the subdivisions are going through the county. The construction of the houses, once it reaches the final plat and its plat is recorded, the permits for the houses come through us, then we take it over at that point. And then we deal with whatever, if there's, for example, stormwater issues or whatever, we have the authority to deal with that. They just do the final of the plat and get it recorded.
And this was all due to the fact that it was all reviewed, approved, all the engineering and all the fees went to the county. And they're responsible until final plat.
And some of them already had houses already started, there was no reason. Jackson County finished what they had started on the houses, since they'd already started the permit fees.
So my question would be to the city attorney, what is the legal opinion here?
Well, generally speaking, you can't vote yourself to have jurisdiction over anything. Your jurisdiction is set by the code. So, it's my understanding there's only 2 projects that remain for the final plat, and that is the O Capital or DDC LLC properties that are adjacent to off of Riley's CC Camp Road. Those are the only 2 that are left waiting for final plat.
And how many homes does that consist of? Just ballpark? It's like several hundred or?
Amanda was able to get in touch with Marcus Ketchot's office with the county to find out how many that we had left, how many were left. And those were the 2 projects, and they're right next to each other. I don't know how many homes, Amanda, do you?
Those are in Ward 6?
They're in Ward 6, they're property adjacent to.
Why Palmetto Point keeps coming up, I don't know. That's being used as a backdoor, seems like to me, but there's no issues with Palmetto Point.
That's right. How many, Amanda?
There's 2 subdivisions, so total for both about 600.
Wow.
This is on the north end of Ocean Spring Road. So
Steve, one thing that the Corps of Engineers is doing is they've asked the developers to back off the density of those two to get final plat on that. So that is something that has been proposed.
Okay, back to this prior meeting that you had said you weren't aware of till recently. Is that something we got in writing during that meeting that has anyone seen that says there was this agreement between the city and county?
That was an agreement with the annexation talks, and I was not there, so.
So nothing official was, I mean, unless it's a written
They had pulled
agreement.
their permits through the county, and if they did that, they just left them with the county. That was the agreement they made.
That's what I'm saying, so there's no proof of an agreement. There was nothing.
I have none.
Yeah.
That's how it started, and that's the way these projects have been following, and I haven't seen an issue with them.
I think what it amounted to was to, like, say, the developer's already got his engineers, everything's been worked, he's already got all the money invested, and already paid to the county, and that was the reason, basically, is he's already paid the subdivision fees and everything, so that was why they were allowed to go ahead and continue, finish them, but the building permits were a little easier for us to just start with what they had already started with. Because we were still using their ordinance for setbacks anyway.
And keep in mind, this wasn't just for developments, if I'm not mistaken. If a house had a permit already under the county to be built, it was built under the county permit. So it wasn't just for development.
Yeah, it was,
all permanent.
there was several houses on Ocean Swing Road that were under construction that were allowed to be finished under the county for CO.
And I think there is one that is in the process of finishing right now.
So Matthew, you being in the planning department for many years, what are your thoughts on the county overseeing all of this, especially when we hear the number 600 homes?
I think that was a proposal that was put out there, but I think that number of 600 homes has been greatly backed off of for the density and drainage issues. One thing is that these permits were acquired through the county, all the processing, all the permitting through the state Corps of Engineers. The city should honor that along with a regular homeowner building a home in that area to follow through with all of it. The city does do the inspections and everything once the permit is finalized. So that is something that is within the city. So honestly, I don't think this needs to be dealt with.
And so who will oversee all of the infrastructure? Will it be the county or the city?
Wherever it started.
Infrastructure for the development itself would be the county.
Maintains it.
As far as the engineering goes, they will review and
The county will?
the construction of the roadways, the drainage and all that, yes.
But what about maintaining it? That would then
Fall under the
go
bond at the
to,
end.
After it's adopted.
Is the question who's going to be dedicated the infrastructure and the roads when the development is built?
who will own and maintain those, the drainage, utilities,
The
right
city.
away?
Well, it
City.
depends.
Once, yeah.
We don't own the sewer out there, so we will not own the sewer.
That's JCWA.
That's
We will
JCI.
own the water, the streets, and the drainage.
I
But
guess I'm struggling. We legally annexed this. There's no written agreement. There was a meeting, but there's no written agreement that states that we are to accept these under the county's building guidelines.
I think if you dig into it, I think there is emails and correspondence.
Found it.
I think that is something that needs to be looked into before any decision's made upon this, because this is one thing that I feel like the annexed area, when people got permits within the county and was annexed into the city, they wanted to finish under the county standards.
They did.
So this is kind of the same situation with what we're considering on this, even though what is being proposed to us right now is not even directly talking about this development.
And I just find it that it won't necessarily be compliant with the city's standards. That's just an interesting caveat.
Yeah, it's concerning to me that we're just gonna take over what the county did. Are they gonna have proper lighting? Are they gonna have sidewalks? I mean, we just inherited.
That's all in the development plan. That's what we've done for the other.
And I know this is a new development, but that's what we did when we annexed. We totally took over what was originally county anyway.
Something I do want to bring up is I made a motion back in end of last year to take the county zoning and accept it into the city within our comprehensive plan. So that's already been passed. We passed that as a board whole. So, I mean, what we're dealing with is we're looking at the county zoning, the city zoning, we're winding up these processes of these permits through the county to finish out, but no more permitting is being done through the county. This is, strictly.
Right.
So.
And anything else will be coming through the city.
What about just, recreation? Are they putting any type of facilities out there? Is there gonna be land left for it?
Whatever they're.
Nobody has seen the further developments yet, but it's all still city and still county.
So we haven't seen the plats.
But we're still actually following their zoning ordinance because we don't have anything in place yet. Same with their subdivision, so their zoning would be different from ours anyway.
Right.
I think that's what Pat's trying to say, is we're still following her.
Yeah, I would hope that 600 homes, there's area for recreation, there's areas, bus pickups. I mean, we just don't even know.
But Steve, what I was trying to say is Corps of Engineers have not approved the 600 homes. They've asked to back off that density of that. Corps of Engineers has the final say-so with that.
And they'll make sure that these things that we're talking about are implemented? Is that what you're saying?
That's, Corps of Engineers is basically the final, they're the.
Just for density.
Yeah, for density and drainage, so, I think it's being looked at really hard.
But they're not gonna be, when we talk about recreation, that's not something they're gonna look at.
That would all be within the city and what the county standards would have.
I mean, really, this is for discussion, so
Yeah.
it's just. But personally, I think, that was a deal that was made with the annexation, and it's been followed up to this point. You're on the very last two. I don't see a need to change it. I really don't. We can, y'all ready to move on? All right, we'll move on to item F. All right, we'll move on to item F, discuss and consider proposals from Brown Mitchell Alexander Inc. and Overstreet and Associates, PLLC, for professional engineering services related to Ward 6 drainage study. This, I think, I've heard different conflicting reports, but we were talking about trying to get proposals for this. Alderman Messenger received one, I received one, I was expecting to receive 2 to 3 more. And really, I would like to see us wait until those other proposals come in before we do anything with this. We don't have any funding identified as at this point, which we would need to do. And in the meantime, we could wait for the other proposals to come in, then you would have 5 proposals to look at. That's
Mayor,
just
I've got an issue that I'm concerned with. It may be a legal issue with this now. That Brown and Mitchell's number was put out in a public meeting a few meetings ago. So I don't think it's a fair process at this point. David may correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think you're supposed to discuss numbers from one proposal when you've got others coming.
it's a weird area because you're talking about professional services, which generally are exempted from the competitive bidding process in that way. But there wasn't I guess a legal concern of mine would be that there wasn't a published RFP to give guidelines for the proposals. So you don't have, I don't know if I don't want to say too much because I don't want to do somebody's job. The lack of a published RFP was a little concerning to me.
Well, I think if we're gonna do this, we need to go out for put a true RFP out and accept proposals that way.
I second that.
So is the normal procedure not to receive a proposal and work on one at a time? It's not customary to have several at a time, to my understanding. Is that not the correct procedure? Is that not what we've done historically?
For qualifications, very much so. I mean, we have engineering firms that we consider qualified. And like I said, you went out, I talked to 3, and we're just gonna entertain proposals from the engineer. I didn't expect to publish any numbers or anything like that.
Well, that's my issue, is there's a number on the street now, everybody's gonna try to come in under it. So to be fair, it needs to be rebid under a certain RFP.
We could.
Certain qualifications.
I thought proposals weren't supposed to be based off of bids, but on qualifications. Is that not correct?
That is correct, but we've
So
got a number out there now.
Typically, that's when we have a pool of engineers. That's our RFQ. That tells us what they're qualified. You look at those, you pick your top, you ask that firm for a proposal. This is how we've done it since I've been here. If you cannot come to agreement with that proposal, you can negotiate their costs. Once they give it to you, if you can't come to agreement, you can discard them, but you have to tell them, like, we're not interested anymore. You can go to your second one. But once you see your second price, you can't go back to the first one because it was cheaper. So that's the way we have always done it. If I'm wrong, if there's some legal thing, that's just how we've done. So when we got our first proposal, that was the one that was presented, and it was my understanding, now we have a second one. So I don't know where the legal line is. I know you can't put professionals in a bidding situation.
Well,
We could, we
we
did it a long
actually
time
had,
ago.
we actually had 5 interested in giving the proposals, so as they came in, we just,
That's the first I'm hearing about the 5, and I
there
didn't
was-
know you had
there
talked to
was-
3 others. Why wasn't I included in that?
they reached out to us and said, can we
But
give
it's
a
the first I'm
proposal?
hearing
But
about it.
I did not,
It's my ward.
well, I didn't hear about the first one until the day of
That's
the
not
meeting.
What I'm discussing now.
And so the other one came in also, and so that's why you got 2 of them. So I'm fine if we go out and do a proposal and let them
Were
come
there
back.
discussions with other aldermen regarding these other,
I'll be honest with you, I haven't reviewed the second proposal that's in, so I've got to go back and look at those. They hit the table and we just put them out to the aldermen.
So we're changing the process, is that what we're?
there is what I'm trying to clarify. Is
No,
there
we're
a
not changing.
process? And if so, is it in writing?
We're not changing the process. The process is there. We've got
Where is it?
qualified engineers, and they give the proposals. That's the way it works.
Where's that in writing?
You got that in writing?
So we're just changing it case by case?
Well, wait a minute, Julie.
I've
So-
never changed it. That's the way I've always
So
operated.
Sarah, are you saying that the first one we got, since they were qualified, we were supposed to take it? Is that what you're saying? That we've done in the past?
So typically, myself and either an alderman or the mayor or another staff member will review the RFQs in our pool. And we will recommend one and go after a proposal, and then it is presented to the board. And then that is when y'all vote on it to accept it or not.
So the one that Julie presented first is the one we're supposed to look at?
That's the one that's the way I've always done it. Once you receive one for an item, you don't go out for another one because then you get in a bidding thing.
So I would say, Julie, just make a motion for the first one and then we'll go from there.
Agreed. I make a motion to accept the proposal from BMA Engineering for stormwater assessment in Ward 6 pending funding.
Second.
Got a motion by Alderman Messenger, second by Alderman Tillis. Got all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Okay.
I need to hear
Do
that.
roll call, please.
Roll call.
Aye.
Nay.
Aye.
Nay.
Aye.
No.
Okay. All right, we will try to find fun. That was 4-3, correct? Motion passed?
Yes.
Can I say something on the back of this real quick? I just, I was excited to see this tonight. I feel that Ward 6 is the most complex. It's the, dealing with the annex. It's got the most growth next, Ward 5 and 6, obviously. It has the wetlands that have been declassified that we know are still problems with stormwater management. So I feel that if we can do this with one of the more complex wards and be successful at it, it is a great blueprint to continue across all wards, whatever we need to do. So I just wanted to say that. I think it's a good step.
We'll move on to new business. We got Mr. John Lockard with the health insurance renewal.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Aldermen. I'm John Lockard with 90 Degree Benefits. We've handled your insurance here for many, many years. I'd like to also introduce Melanie Wagner. She's the Director of Operations for our Mississippi location. We also have Scott Brewster in the back. He's Executive Vice President of Sales and Marketing for Mississippi and Louisiana, so I brought them here today. While they're passing those proposals out, let me kind of back up and tell you where we were. You've been with United Healthcare for a number of years. We have been trying to work with the city for a number of years to try to get you to an arrangement called self-funded, where you self-insure your benefits. But the last 3 years, you've had very good years, and United Healthcare has come back and offered you 1 month of free premium, which is about $130,000 or $140,000. So there's that much money being waved in front of you. If you don't renew with them, they don't give it to you. So that precluded us from having or recommending that we go self-insurance the last 3 years. This year's a little bit different. You've got a loss ratio this year of 109%. So United Healthcare is coming back with a large increase. But before I get into that, let me turn a couple pages. First thing, the proposal, and I wish y'all would limit me to 5 minutes because I think your questions will be a lot longer than that. On what I call the profit and loss, it's the sheet about the 3rd page, which looks like this. Right now, the city of Ocean Springs, and they've done this probably for 9 years or so. With United Healthcare, you have a $5,000 deductible, but the city self-insures $4,000 of that $5,000. So you put money aside, and the employee's responsible for the first $1,000. The city, through its self-funded plan, reimburses the next $4,000. That's what this sheet represents. First column shows you your total funding. That's the amount of money put in based on the number of employees and what type of coverage they have. That's what money that you're putting in your own account every month. The medical claims is the 3rd column. You can see what the claims are. The last column is your profit or loss. You can see the year we started about $518,000 to the profit. We've added about another $40,000 this year, so you've made profit on this plan every single year. We're showing about $558,000 to the good, but from our meetings we had just a little while ago, I think it's more like $700,000 to the good. So this, what we call self-funded gap plan, a premium saver, whatever you want to call it, has worked extremely well for the city over the years. And this is going to help us get over that hurdle to possibly go self-insurance this year. But I'll circle back to this, but just keep in mind the city's got about $700,000 in an account that's in reserves for future use for employee benefits. All right, if you go to the next page, is the United Healthcare renewal for October 1st of this year. The left column is the structure of the benefits. The next column is the United Healthcare, your current schedule of benefits. If you go down to the very bottom where the numbers are in the red, and I'm probably going fast, so please stop me if you have questions. But on the very bottom of that column, you can see your current rates. That's for employee only, employee spouse, employee children, and family. You can see your current rate for single coverage is $479. If you go down toward the bottom in red, it's a 29% rate increase. You had a 9% loss ratio, or 109% loss ratio. So the carriers lost about 147,000 this year. But if you look at a 29% rate increase, that's a $460,000 increase. I think that's very unrealistic. We did go out to Blue Cross Blue Shield to say, this has been an account that's been extremely worked well for the last 3 years. This last year had a little bit of loss. But the problem with these carriers is they don't want to look back to prior years when you were doing good, when they made a lot of money. They don't want to look at the current year when you lost money. So they're really trying to stick it to you with the 29% rate increase. So Blue Cross looked at it. They couldn't get enough information from United. We always fight with these carriers to get as much information as we can. Blue Cross declined to quote on this account. One, because you got a loss ratio over 100%. So the first thing we do is we look at what other options can we have, because I don't think it's realistic to come to the city and say, here's a 29% rate increase, pay it, let's move on. We've got to be proactive on the city's behalf to see what we can do to hold down costs for the employees. So the middle column there is option 1. On the far right side of the page is option 2. I'm not going to sit here and go over these items line by line, because we'll be here for hours. If you're going to stay with United Healthcare, we would recommend that you go to the far right at option 2. That increases that deductible from $5,000 to $6,500. My recommendation there is the employees are accustomed to having a $1,000 deductible. You're self-insured the next 4 yourself. Because of the amount of money you have in reserves, over $700,000, I would recommend at this point that if you're going to stay with United Healthcare, that's a big if, that extra $1,500 going to $6,500, I would just recommend that the city pick that up, so the employee would still be responsible for the first $1,000. The city would self-insure the next $5,500. That's because you have so much cash reserves from prior years. That's not much risk to add to the city for $1,500 more per person. There are some other benefits that if you go down about 4 lines where it says lab testing, and the next one up below that's x-rays, I think it'd be a disservice to the employees. If you look at the benefits under option 1 for those 2 categories, they would have to meet that full deductible prior to any benefits being paid, where option 2 still has copays there. So that's very close to what you currently have. If you look again down toward the bottom of the page, most of the other benefits are somewhat close to that. But if you look at the bottom of the page, the middle column gives you a 17.9% increase rather than 29%. And the far right column, which is what I'm looking at, if you stay with United, is an 11% rate increase. That's still $174,000 more than what we were doing the prior year. So that's what I would recommend there. The next page, if you look at that, this page here, this is kind of a recap. If we're going from a $5,000 deductible to a $6,500 deductible, is that advantageous for the city to do that financially? This page basically tells you at the top of the page, $5,000 deductible. If you look at that first column of numbers, that's the renewal for that $5,000 deductible. If you come down to the United Healthcare option 2, $6,500 deductible. The second column of numbers is the premium for that plan. The next column is the difference of those. That's the savings to the city times the number of employees in each category times 12 months. You would save $285,000. So for $1,500 more risk, you can save $285. That would be, you'd have to have 237,000 people meet the full $6,500 before this wasn't a good idea. That's unheard of. Last year, you only had 2 major claims that were extremely high. So that just, again, proves the self-funded gap plan you're doing is what you need to continue doing if you stay fully insured with United Healthcare. This just will add to the self-funded plan you already have. So that's why, if you're gonna stay with United, I would recommend option 2 with 11% increase, and that's gonna put more money to that gap plan which you already have a maximum amount of money. Any questions on the renewal for United? I don't want to ask for any recommendations at this point, because we're going to talk about self-funded. Any questions before we move on? All right, on the self-funded portion of this, you know, Jackson County, City of Pascagoula, City of Goche, City of Biloxi, City of Gulfport, all these companies, City of Goche, smaller than y'all, they've been self-funded for years. All these cities have been self-funded for a long, long time. Again, like I said earlier, we've been trying to get y'all to go self-funded for many years. But with the refunds you've got from United, it didn't make sense. I think this year is an opportunity to take advantage of your savings that you created from your gap plan, plus the rates we're getting from the reinsurance company this year, based on the renewal from United, makes sense this year to look at a self-funded option. So if you look at the top of that page, and I'm looking at a page with 3 columns of numbers on it, so much on the same page. I'm going to try to go slow because it's a little bit confusing. It's a little bit different from what the city's accustomed to. The city is accustomed to a fully insured plan, which means you pay the premium to the carrier is responsible for all the claims. If you have a good year, you hope you get a good rate. If you have a bad year, they're going to slam you just like they did this year. Self-funded, you're going to buy reinsurance. There's 2 types of reinsurance. There's specific reinsurance, which covers any catastrophic plan. The city could not afford to go self-insured if somebody had $1 million claim. So we set a cap based on how many employees you have that. So if you look at the top of that page, for the renewal for October 1st, this is the specific deductible that we quoted was $75,000. That means the city is responsible for the first $75,000 of every employee's claims. If a claim goes over $75,000, the reinsurance company picks it up. If you got that $1 million claim, the city's going to pay $75,000, the reinsurance company's going to pay $925,000. That's the first type of reinsurance. It's on every individual. The next type of reinsurance is what they call aggregate reinsurance. What if a bunch of people have claims at $74,000 and every employee had that? The city couldn't afford that either. The aggregate reinsurance sets a cap on the entire group. Once you hit X amount, the reinsurance company steps in and pays everything after that. So that's how you develop your rates, is based on those guarantees from these reinsurance companies. So to go through the numbers, if you look at the way the sheet's broke out, on the left side you've got single, you go down further, it's employee, spouse, employee, children, full family. The first thing you see listed there, and I'm going to look at just the single because the other categories follow the same philosophy. Your specific premium, well right now your rate for your renewal is $618, that's the first column of numbers, that's your United Healthcare. The second column is your self-funded option that I'm talking about, that $75,000 specific deductible. Instead of paying $618 to the insurance company, you're going to pay $137 to the insurance company. Then you have to hire an administrator, which would be our company. You'd have to put in place a network that has hospitals and doctors in it. You'd have to hire a company to do pre-certification review to make sure that the claims are medically necessary. And then you have to fund for claims. So if you go through that, specific premium is $137. Our admin fee is $30. Network fee is $7.25. Pre-cert fee is $2. The aggregate premium is $13.76. The funding for claims, if you look at the maximum funding for the claims, that's $506. Now the difference here is, instead of paying that $506 to the insurance company, you're going to put that $506 in the bank account here at the City of Ocean Springs. So you're reserving your own money to process claims. If you're having a good year, you're going to have a tremendous amount of money left over, just like you are on your self-funded gap plan that you're doing now. So that looks, that's $697. It's higher than your current renewal, but you've got to understand the $506 that I spoke about, that's your maximum claims liability from the reinsurance carrier. If you look to the right of that, that's the expected claims from the reinsurance carrier. So all the numbers are the same except that funding number. The funding number is what the city puts in their own account. The 405 that you're looking at That's the amount of claims that the reinsurance company expects you to incur this year based on how many employees you have, how many are male, how many are female, your claims loss ratios. A lot of factors go into that. They're expecting your claim to be $405. But the city takes the risk from $405 to $506. So that's a 25% markup that is standard with all reinsurance carriers to put that risk order in there of 25%. But if it goes over that, it's fully reimbursable by the carrier. So if you look at what we expect to have, then if you hit the expected, the rate would be $596. You can look on down there, if you look toward the bottom of the page, and one other thing that I need to make sure you understand, if we're going self-insured, there's no need to have the gap policy because that's two separate self-funded plans. If we're going to go self-insured, then you only need one plan. So if you go self-insured, we're going to have one plan that has $1,000 deductible. You're not going to have another $4,000 or $5,000 reimbursed as a secondary policy under the gap policy. So we're going to merge those. So if you look at the monthly cost under your fully insured plan, it shows $170,000 at the bottom of the page. Under the first column, you have healthcare, $170,000. But you got to also consider you're spending about $11,000 a month right now on that self-funded gap plan. So your monthly cost is $170 plus $11,000. So you're looking at $181,000. My plans merged together, which would be one plan, is still about $181,000. So the worst case scenario under self-funded is about the same premium you'd pay under United Healthcare's renewal. And if you hit expected claims, your cost is only going to be $154,000 a month. So it's a lot cheaper if we have a good year. If you have a bad year, you're about where you are with United's renewal anyway. The good thing about the city of Ocean Springs is you already have a cushion of $700,000 that we can work into this. So if you have a bad year, you've got those reserves sitting there. Most companies that go self-insured, they start off with zero. Because the first couple months in October and November, you're hardly going to have any claims because all your run-out claims are going to be paid by United Healthcare because they have that 30 to 60 day lag by the time they get from the providers to the carriers to get it paid and back out. So the first couple months, you're going to build a lot of cash reserves anyway, so you may not have any claim the first month at all. So I just think this is a good opportunity. We've been looking at self-funding for many years. With the rate increase at 29%, which is a $460,000 rate increase, if you go that route, I think this is a good opportunity to look at self-funded this year. We would basically copy the benefits that the employees have now. Rather than having two policies to make it a $1,000 deductible, we would have one policy with $1,000 deductible. Your co-pays for your drugs, your co-pays for a lot of these office visits, we would try to pretty much mirror the current benefits that the employees have now. The good thing is the city, through us, would help design this policy. Y'all can design it the way you want. If you didn't like the co-pay or you didn't like the way something works, the city just makes an amendment to the policy. It's your policy. It's not an insurance carrier. Is your policy a plain document? You get it reinsured by a reinsurance carrier. That's your protection under the plan. So again, I think this is a good opportunity to do this. Another thing I'll tell you real quick is there's things behind the scenes that nobody sees. When you're looking at drug costs alone, drug costs used to be about 10% of a health plan many years ago when I had more hair. Nowadays, drugs are running about 35% of your healthcare spend is drugs. Well, there's a lot of drug rebates that go back to all these carriers. So there's tens of thousands a month that go back to these carriers that you never see. If you're self-insured, that money's coming back to the city of Ocean Springs. If the city doesn't like something mid-year, if something's not working well, you do a plan amendment. We submit it to the carrier, get it approved, and you move on. Fully insured, you can't do that. The other thing is with fully insured, once you set the plan, you're stuck in that plan for a year. There's nothing, you can't change benefits, you can't do anything else for the year. This gives you a lot more flexibility to do what's best for the city and its employees. So we just think this is a good year. So the options are stay with United, swing over to option 2, which will be, a higher deductible and some benefit changes with 11% rate increase, or look at going self-insured this year. I just think it's a good opportunity to look at it for this year.
John, thank you very much. This is something, when we started that split funding, this is what we were trying to get to. The last few years, we were hoping we were getting close. To hear this today really shocked me, and it really makes me feel good that we're able to even have this as an option. I would like to see us move forward with the self-funding myself, but I'd like to hear what the board has to say.
Well, like you said, Mayor, we started working on this back in 2011 with John, and to be here now, it's where we were trying to get. And the benefits, I think, like you say, controlling your own policy at that point. And it being basically a wash, probably a savings if we hit the expected, a lot of the savings over the renewal. Not having a second, gap fund anymore, that would have been right there at the 181. I think this is the right time to do this, and I'm glad to hear this too.
Anybody else? Anything? No?
Is this review only tonight?
Well, we need to somewhat, Mindy, you can get this to, we need to move forward.
I guess I'm a little green in some of these areas, and I don't understand a lot of your
It's a lot.
a lot of your industry terms. To self-insure, we would still have United Healthcare?
No.
So then you wouldn't have to worry about network or out of network, that all goes
Well,
away?
That's a good point. The networks, you would purchase a network for this area. Mississippi Healthcare Physician, MHC, is the network that we would put in place. I think one or two casinos have that network in place. The City of Biloxi has that in place. So it's a good network for this area. It's probably one of the larger networks for the state of Mississippi. So we would put that network in place. That would be the hospitals and doctors and those that you would go into. We would also possibly look at a second network, a wrap network. So if somebody's not in that network, if you had to go to MD Anderson or some of these larger hospitals out of the area, we're going to look for a second network to put in place to cover those needed areas, so we don't pay full price. So there's a little bit more work on our end that we would have to do, but again, I think it's a good opportunity to do it. And I'm going out of town. I'm leaving Friday. I'll be back the following Monday and Tuesday. I'm more than welcome to meet with all of you or some of you if you had questions or whatever else. But I know it's a lot to put on your plate all at once because it is a complicated issue. But again, all the other cities and counties around here, they're already self-insured. They've been self-insured for years. Normally, when you go self-insured, you very seldom ever go back to fully insured.
And it sounds like you could fairly easily add a provider, find a way to add a provider that, if you don't have a network and you can bill.
Our claims supervisors will, if we have a unique hospital in Arkansas that we have to go to, we have people that will go to that hospital and try to negotiate on their behalf. They have what we call a single contract case, because we do everything we can. There's other methods we can go to, Medicare plus pricing. Whatever Medicare pays plus 20%, we tell them that's all we're going to pay. If you don't want to do it, we'll move the patient to another hospital. So they don't want to lose anything above Medicare, they want the money. So there's ways to work this, but it is something that will be a little bit different from the employees because it's not United Healthcare. There's websites that they will go to look up their hospitals and doctors to make sure they're in it, but that's what they do now anyway.
And on this, because this is what the actual cost would be, but that's what you're expecting our costs would be.
The middle column is the maximum cost.
Worst case scenario.
Yeah, let me point, the 137 on the first number, that's the reinsurance you have to cap all the claims on any individual at 75,000. That's what that premium is. If you go down to the 1376, that's the aggregate premium. And the number right below that aggregate premium, that 506, the funding, that's your maximum risk from the reinsurance company, that if all your claims go over that amount for the 4 categories, times the number of people, times 12 months, if it goes above that amount, the reinsurance company reimburses all that. So that's your maximum numbers for that funding, the 506 and so on down the page, that's your maximum risk. So again, if you look at the bottom page, it's 181 because mine includes both the gap and self-funded. So if you add 11,000 to 170, you're already almost at the same number. So if you have any kind of decent year, you're gonna have more money in the bank than staying the same plan under United Healthcare.
Well, I'm going to go out on a limb here, and like I said, this is something we've been working for a long time. And we can have more discussion, but I'm going to make the motion that we go with the self-funded option this year because it's been a long time coming, and I think this will end up in significant savings in the long run.
Got a motion by Alderman Blackman,
Second.
second by Alderman Tillis. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Thank you, Mr.
Thank you.
Appreciate that. Looks like we'll be meeting with you.
Yeah, we'll meet with you to get the funding numbers and stuff because the reserves you have, so that will probably be the
See it in the second network.
Yes, thank you all.
Thank you very much. That's a big step. How you doing, Si?
Man, I'm good, how are y'all?
Okay.
Y'all got a fun night?
Thanks for being here. And this went down 50%, you said?
60.
60?
I'm kidding.
Can I take that?
Yes, they can. All right, Mayor Cox, board, thank you for having me. My name's Si Easterling, and I'm with Arthur J. Gallagher Insurance. And like John's handled your medical for a while, we've handled your life insurance, voluntary life insurance, dental insurance, and vision insurance for quite some time now. So I want to present to you, everybody has this packet, and just kind of as an overview before we get into it, your current life insurance, dental insurance, and vision carrier is Mutual of Omaha. They've been a good partner for a while. Your renewals were no increase on the life, no increase on the voluntary life, no increase on the vision, and an initial 8% increase on the dental, which we got down to 5%. So we could renew today, 5% increase on the dental, move forward, all good. We did shop it out. I'm going to go through the marketing results here. So if you will flip to, it's page 6. There's no page numbers on some of these pages, but page 6 does have a page number. The first chart looks like this. The first Excel chart. This is your marketing results for the basic life and AD&D. This is the only portion of what I'm going to talk about tonight that the city actually pays for directly. Everything else is going to be a voluntary benefit that the employee elects if they want it. If they don't want it, they don't pay for it. So the life insurance is provided by the city. The city gives all employees $25,000 of life insurance just for being an employee. Your current plan through Mutual of Omaha, the renewal rate, like I mentioned, did not change. You can renew right now, pay $1,300 a month, you'd be good to go. But we did shop it out with multiple carriers, and for the sake of time, I'm only going to talk about MetLife because that would be the option I would recommend if you were to move. So if you look at the MetLife column there, that's the first column. If you were to move to MetLife, same $25,000 benefit for the employees, the city would pay roughly $5,000 less per year for the same life insurance benefit. The upside for that is they gave you a 36-month rate guarantee, meaning that when we talk next year, we don't have to go through this song and dance on the life insurance. Your renewal that Mutual of Omaha gave you is only good for 12 months. So you can stay where you are now, no rate increase, or we can make that move. And I want to throw this out there too. We're going to talk about dental, voluntary life, and vision. I recommend if you move something, you move all of them because we get better pricing if you have more lines of coverage with a certain carrier. It's easier for Mindy and her staff and for the billing and reconciling of that. So that would be my recommendation is if you make a move, move one, move all. Any questions on the life insurance there? All right, let's flip the page. I'm not gonna spend a lot of time on this. This is the voluntary life insurance. It's a rate chart based on the age of the employee and how much coverage they want and the volume. Just know that when we shopped it out, the MetLife rates on the voluntary life insurance, and again, it's all over the board based on age, they are about 38.68% less than your renewal rates with Mutual of Omaha. So the employee would save a little bit of money on the additional life insurance that they've elected here. And these rates are good for 36 months. Okay, flip the page one more time. We'll get into the dental insurance. Again,
city does not pay for this. This is totally voluntary. If the employee wants it, they pay for it. If they don't get it. Your renewal, you're coming off a 2-year rate guarantee with Mutual of Omaha. They've been a good partner. You did get an initial 8% rate increase, which we got down to roughly a 5% rate increase with Mutual of Omaha. If you wanted to renew, those rates would only be good for 12 months. Again, we marketed everything. A couple differences I want to point out in the MetLife plan. The way the dental plan works is you get $1,500 to spend in any 1 year. Once you spend that, once the carrier's paid that, it's gone. You're paying everything over and above. That's a lot of money to spend. MetLife actually increased that $1,500 to $1,750. So the employee's getting a better benefit there on the annual maximum that they get by $250. It does not include what we call a maximum rollover, which to me is not a big deal. Basically, the maximum rollover is any unused money. If you meet certain criteria, you get your annual cleanings, your checkups, and if you don't spend that whole annual max, you get a portion of that to be added on to next year's benefit. Basically, the people that don't use their dental benefit get extra benefit for next year. That's not really a good benefit for me. So by MetLife not offering this rollover benefit that most people are not aware of anyway, they said, we're just going to give you extra money every year to spend instead of messing with this rollover game that nobody really understands. So that's why MetLife gave you $1,750 instead of $1,500 in dental benefit. Everything else in the plan, and we can get in the weeds if you want to, everything else in the plan we matched apples for apples as far as what's covered where, 100%, 80%, 50%. Network, that's going to be a big question that you get. The MetLife Dental Network is going to be comparable to the Mutual of Omaha network. We have had, many get speak to, we've had a couple complaints of dentists not possibly being in the current network. MetLife is used by City of Biloxi, several private employers around here. So we are very familiar with their network. They do have great network coverage. We can talk in depth if you want to about that. So network's not going to be an issue. I'm not going to recommend something that's going to be an issue. Is there going to be a one-off dentist that might be in one and not another? Absolutely. That's just the nature of the game. So I guess getting down to the bottom, they're offering you a 2-year rate guarantee if you were to switch from MetLife. Now you are going to have an increase. None of these companies that we shop are going to give you any kind of a decrease. Rates are going up, costs are going up. The increase on this is roughly 2.5% versus the 5% that you would have in renewal. Good news is it's guaranteed for 2 years. Are we having fun? Are we good? Everybody enjoying this? All right. Any questions on that?
It's like we're MetLife so far.
Yeah, that's why I didn't waste your time with some of the other ones. Last thing that we have is your vision insurance. So the voluntary, again, matching plan designs on Mutual of Omaha versus MetLife. The key here is the carrier behind Mutual of Omaha is a company called IMED. The carrier behind MetLife is VSP. VSP is a better, bigger network. They have more national coverage. I prefer them just from an ease of use factor. IMED's good, VSP's great. There's not a problem with either one, but if you had me pick one, with everything else being equal, I would personally pick VSP. So with that being said, that's really the only difference is you're going to have the VSP network instead of the IMED network. They were able to go in and reduce rates by 5%, and they're going to give you a 4-year rate guarantee on this one. So we'll have to go through a whole election before we go through this again. So that'll be good. That'll be good. I hope to see all y'all here in 4 years. I hope I'm here too. So in a nutshell, that's what I have to present to y'all. It is up to the board as to what you do. I'm not going to present a bad option to you. Mutual is a good option. I think in this scenario, MetLife might be a little bit better option with the rate guarantees and the length of the contract that we do.
So with this vision under MetLife, obviously you probably wouldn't be showing it to us if we didn't have 67% participation requirement.
Yeah,
so we do meet that.
You're going to meet that, and if you don't, we're going to work with them to make sure they honor the rates, even if that's not that. We have to include that in the proposals. It's not, generally speaking, unless you come in with a 20% participation, which you're not, it's not going to be an issue.
Well, there again, I think everything's a no-brainer here. Mutual's been good. I think MetLife's very comparable. We've had VSP in the past on the vision, and I think it was better than the IMED. I think you're correct. So,
go ahead.
I'm good with it.
I know I've tried using the INET network, and it seems like I drive 20, 30 miles just to try to find a network that would could use my vision with insurance.
Yeah, they're not, it's not as big locally, it's not as big nationally. BSBU is gonna give you more options locally and nationally.
You can entertain a motion.
I'll make the motion that we renew with MetLife for all policies listed here.
Second.
Got a motion by Alderman Blackman, second by Alderman Pfeiffer. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you, Si.
Thank you.
All right, we'll move on to consent agenda. Does anyone have anything to pull from the consent?
I'd like to put item U.
You?
Okay.
U and J. Anybody else? If not, do we have a motion to accept the agenda, except for item U and
We'll
J?
make a motion.
Second.
Motion by Alderman Pfeiffer, second by Alderman Blackman. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed. Okay, item J.
So I just have some questions on this one. On the custodial, I think it might be the third one in there. So it's gonna be $25 an hour, and then the person will also get a flat rate of $100 for cleaning the theater, and then $50 flat rate for other rooms, and,
Yes.
okay, is the $25, that competitive with what's going on in the area for that role?
This is the same lady we had in the very beginning. And she's been our best, most invested cleaner, and she very much understands the museum. She had a couple of strokes, and then a few years later has now come back to us, and she still to this day is the best. We want her for at least as long as she will clean the Mary Seat, basically.
I just wanted to clarify just the pricing. Okay.
Yes. I understand it's a little pricey, but she is worth it. She cares very much about every detail of that historic building, so.
I'd like to make a motion to accept.
Got a motion by Alderman Messenger,
Second.
second by Alderman Pfeiffer. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed. Okay, item U.
All right. So, with the information that's been brought to us about Madison Place Phase 2 final plat, Amanda, the corrections I think that the developer needs to look at need to be completed before moving forward with the final plat approval on this. So this is something that I think that the board needs to consider on tabling until those issues are fixed. So,
Table or send back to
Table it.
planning?
I would like to send back to the planning commission.
Yeah, I agree with that.
you want to,
Until all the UDC
Uh,
discrepancies are resolved.
May I address council comments before voting?
so, Amanda, kind of falling back on this and everything, is this something that you feel that needs to go back before the planning commission, or is this something that can be dealt with all the discrepancies and then brought back before the board?
So to touch a little bit on the final plat approval, so to back up, preliminary plat is where you approve the civil plans. You approve the layout, the lot size, and then from that point, the developer constructs as per the approved civil plans. When they're finished constructing the subdivision, they come back to us for final plat. That's when we review the final plat based off of their approved civil plans. In this instance, it's a little bit different, just because Madison is being subdivided. It was a 51 lot subdivision approved at preliminary. The developer has chose to break it apart in potentially 3 different phases. Doing so, when we do receive final plat applications, it is submitted to all departments to review. We do a final walkthrough. Being that this was a little bit different and it's going in phases, when it came to the end, I know we had some issues with the wetlands and everything as well. When it came to the end, at the planning commission meeting, stormwater, questions and issues were raised and concerns were raised. I went back to the civil plans from the preliminary plat when it was being, when that was approved, and compared the civil plans, contacted BMA, because when we actually send out plans, for civil plans to be reviewed, we do an interdepartment review as well as, an engineering company. Unless it's BMA, then we use a different engineering company, but mostly we use BMA to review everything for us. In this instance, I went ahead and reached out to BMA because this subdivision was a little bit different because we're phasing it out. My question to them was, these 21 lots as far as part of 2B, I probably knew the answer, but I'm not an engineer, is the 21 lots utilizing the storm detention pond. When it was going to come to us for 2C for final approval, we were not ensured that those detention pond improvements were constructed prior to 2C coming before Planning Commission. Reached out to BMA, they conducted a site visit, reviewed the approved drainage calculations as part of the preliminary plat that was approved in 2025. That's our basis for determining the final plat approval is what was approved at preliminary. I reached out to BMA, they conducted the site visit, determined, yes, there was some detention. The weir structure needed to be reconstructed. The emergency overflow needed to be constructed. And then those were contingent, like those were needed and necessary for 2B approvals. So leaving the Planning Commission meeting, the motion was, it was determined that there was some areas cleared that was part of the restrictive covenants, that was part of the approved wetlands permit. The Corps conducted 2 site visits and then issued a letter stating that they're non-compliant. Since then, it was mentioned that there was a restoration plan approved from the Army Corps of Engineers. Again, that part is part of the wetlands permit. That is also part of the conservation area. But going back, so Nick's letter from BMA, after they constructed the necessary improvements in the detention pond, he recommended in his letter that, yes, it was, the detention pond now meets the requirements from the approved civil plans. In addition, he did recommend some additional riprap for the areas that was eroding. Those areas were not called out on the detention pond. The detention pond had been existing prior. Elliott had owned the property to begin with, and then Meritage purchased the property. So going back, we didn't, again, the Planning Commission did not correctly, they didn't hear that portion of the civil plans and us going back to it. So if you would recommend to go back to the Planning Commission, we can explain all of that, what happened, and let them hear and let them make a motion, because their motion was, full compliance with the UDC and receiving whether the wetlands permit with the Corps, if they had an approved mitigation plan or not. So we have received the documentation, but the motion was, approved contingent upon those items. So
I did, you addressed some of it, but Nick, when you went and looked at the improvements to the pond, looking at the pictures, looks like there's several other things need to be addressed. And you still checked off on it?
Yes, because as Amanda mentioned, there's a preliminary plat, which are these approved set of civil plans that the development has to be constructed by. The improvements that exist out there, I'll probably back a little bit more, so it's all submitted as Madison Place Phase 2, which was the entire development. The way it's being platted is it was platted as 2A, 2B, and then future 2C. 2C is under construction now. They are adhering to the overall Phase 2 plans, but it has been broken up. So when concerns were brought up about construction, Amanda asked us to go out. The only thing that was missing that could be detrimental to the development from the approved preliminary plat plans, was the reconstruction of the existing weir in the existing ditch that had been demolished by someone at some point, and then also the construction of the new overflow structure on that existing detention basin. So I made those recommendations.
When I went back out to make sure those had been done, I noted that, hey, there's some erosion that's happening. However, this is not the city's property. This is owned by the Heritage, by the HOA. And so it's technically their responsibility to fix, but there's no issue at this time causing concern for the general public. So that's why I just made that recommendation. Hey, you may want to consider adding some riprap to this area to prevent future erosion and this area potentially creeping over the fence line and into the Cabana property to the south. But it was not a condition of the preliminary plat plans.
So talking about the Cabana, there was mention of runoff from the parking lot going into the detention pond. If that's not allowed, I can see that becoming a problem at Cabanas with their drainage. And it also looked like there was some erosion where that runoff was running into the pond. I know the developer mentioned that they would be willing to work on these things and address these things, which I think need to be addressed looking at the pictures. So kind of the same question, Matt, you had. By tabling this and letting them address those issues and then bring it back, I feel like that would be sufficient. I mean, I don't have a problem with it going back to the planning commission, besides you're just adding a lot more time.
Mayor, I have a few questions.
Yes, sir.
So how close is the Cabana area we keep talking about to this project?
So at what I'm going to call the south side of the existing detention basin, at the top of the bank of the detention pond, there is an existing fence that runs along a paved alleyway. And that paved alleyway is part of the Cabanas.
You get the picture.
Mr. Parker's got, yeah.
Yeah, that we see in these photos. So the top of the bank, so this is not at the weir structure, correct? This is further to the north. Here's at the weir structure. So essentially, this fence line is the property line between the Cabanas and then this development. So that's the property line. You can see the current erosion and issues are on this property, not yet mitigated to the neighboring property. But that is the area that I said, hey, they may want to do something about that.
It's about 4 feet from the top of this bank to that fence.
Is that where those Katrina cottages are?
Correct. That is the Cabanas, yes.
And then this, do you want to talk about the other area?
So
This is where the.
That's further back to the west. Yeah, that's further back to the west. That's where runoff runs across. So when you have runoff, when you increase your impervious area, obviously your water moves faster. You have more water running, and just over time, it has created the way it runs off from the Cabanas property. It has created erosion areas around the existing embankment of that pond.
And did I hear that they cut down 354 trees mistakenly?
That, I do not know. So.
And planted 25.
So so phase 1 of Madison Place was already constructed and accepted by the city by the time BMA came on board for this project. So what happened in phase 1, whatever agreements, final platting was part of phase 1, BMA is not privy to. We came in and had the preliminary plat for phase 2. So I can speak to phase 2.
And I can speak to the preliminary plat if you want me to.
Okay, and I'll say, when the preliminary plat was submitted for phase 2, the developer did submit updated drainage calculations that included the new development, showed that with the reconstruction of the weir, city's ordinance for the pre-versus post for the 25-year storm. That was why I thought it was important that, hey, we need to go ahead and get that done and construct it before any more development happens, because that is important for the overall function of the stormwater management.
Whoever cut those trees down needs to show up to the Ocean Springs Tree Canopy Project where we're trying to plant more trees.
Yeah.
Well,
I completely agree, and some of those trees are already dead that they planted.
And I will say the clearing happened before phase 1. It happened after preliminary plat.
so I have a motion on the table to to have the developer fix all the issues and then bring back before the Board of Aldermen at our next, it's gonna take a minute, so I did.
Be specific about some of the issues.
Just asking for, before you vote.
I let the engineer speak. You can just.
So, a couple issues. I know that there are some wish list items that the residents have mentioned, and out back, I agreed to meet with them. As a part of that, it's good faith. That's all natural pine savanna wetlands, and we'll agree to plant that, restore that back as best as we can. The mitigated plan that was submitted, again, I agree, was minimalistic, as he put it at best. So we can increase that, also add some live oaks, river birches, pitcher plants, which are all native to pine savanna. But when you talk about fixing the issues, so the only thing that Nick, y'all's engineers, mentioned is fixing that erosion near the outfall. Be happy to do that. That was not listed on the initial list of items that were to be done, and so it wasn't. And, I make no apologies for that. It looks like, in my opinion, somebody years ago took a track hoe and busted that V-notch weir out, and when they did, they probably took a scoop out of that bank. So as an engineer, I don't think it's actively eroding. It's been like that for years. We'll be happy to restore it. Riprap, whatever we need to do, which is a common restoration for drainages. But the cabanas, the site runoff, it is adding to that pond, and as far as I can tell, they do not have any detention, which is according to the laws in the UDC. So, I would like for them to look at that so they're not overloading the pond that we're draining into and unfairly taking some of our capacity for drainage. But, I think that we're on the same page now, because they haven't had a voice with anybody in Meritage to get these wetlands items addressed. And that's what, we're here to do, and address those. As far as preliminary plat, I still would like for y'all to approve the final plat of this. It's a sub-phase of phase 2. It's only the western side of the north and south road. But you have the best controlling device of anything for a home builder is building permits. Okay, by approving the final plat, we're attesting that project was built in accordance to the civil plans, water, sewer, drainage, which it has. So the only issue that we've got with neighboring residents is the wetlands, and that we've got some questions about easements on the back property lines, whether that's HOA or city. Those would easily be addressed by looking at the plat, and so it's good faith. We're gonna do all those things to appease the residents and the city, and if we've got any issues with whole building permits.
Yeah. So I'm going to amend my motion to still table it, but what I would like to do is have the building official along with BMA get with you, address the issues that are concerning the residents, and then at our next board meeting, we'll have an update on that, and we'll reconsider this.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right.
A motion, Alderman. Second, Alderman Wade.
Preliminary plat. I think that inversely affects the city and revenue, and we'll extend this out another 2 months. And, we can get these things done in less than 5 days. So.
All right, we're giving you a shot. Give you a shot to fix it. Thank you.
I have a revised
All right.
idea.
No, sir. No, we got a motion and a second on the table. All in favor?
Well, I'd like to discuss it a little bit more.
Okay.
I just want to let the citizens know that showed up tonight. This is how it works. And then the contractor to come out and say, hey, we're going to fix all these problems. So this is great. I really just think I think it's going to work out perfect for everybody. So thank y'all for coming out.
We got a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Nay.
All right. Ayes have it.
them too, Rob's not here.
All right. Now we'll move on to department reports. Docket of claims. Does anyone have any questions on the amended docket of claims?
Rob's.
Go ahead. Does anyone have any questions?
I'll make a motion to approve the docket of claims. All expenditures are appropriate and authorized by law, and spread the summary on the minutes.
Got a motion by Alderman Pfeiffer,
Second.
second by Alderman Dennis. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Monthly budget report. Does anyone have any questions on the monthly budget report? If not, is there a motion to accept the motion? Got a motion by Alderman Hinton, second by Alderman Wade. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. All right, we got a tree appeal on 310 Hunter Drive. Darrell?
Yes, I went out and looked at this, when it was turned in and denied it. The tree is not actually close to the house, it was about 10 feet, 8 feet. Usually when I go out, I look for damage to brick, foundation. Really think this property to be damaged, which, naturally the roots are gonna be above ground in some cases. And I didn't see any issues, which I can't see sewer line. The homeowner had sent in on part of her appeal that it was actually a sewer line running through there. The tree actually caused damage with its roots. There again, I don't know if it's been fixed or what, but they're here.
All right. If you'd like to step over to the mic, please.
Me too. So let's go.
Hi, I'm Patricia Joseph and I live at 310 Hunter Drive. My house is my biggest investment and I want to leave it to my children. After I was denied, I also called my plumber, who I've known for 20 years, and he put a camera in, and you have the document where he wrote up for me. It has invaded my main sewer line. Without a sewer line, you really can't live in a house. Well, you can. So, and the tree has also, the roots have also, and there's a picture on there of my air conditioner, where it has actually gone underneath the pad and raised my air conditioner up. And it's a lot closer to my house than 8 feet, as I measured it. Well, gotta be thorough. Yeah. Please, ma'am. There we go. Too far. I'm sorry. There we go. It's raising. So eventually, my air conditioner is almost 15 years old, so it's going to need to be replaced sooner or later, and I would prefer it be somewhere where the tree roots are not going to ruin it. But I'm most concerned about my sewer, because until that tree is removed, and I love trees, do not get me wrong, I grew up here, I moved to Ocean Springs, been here 25 years. I love it. But that tree, I can't replace the sewer line until the tree is gone. Because what will happen is the roots will just, so many roots are gonna have to be cut to get to the sewer line that it's gonna end up hurting the tree anyway. And at that point, it will probably get so weak it will literally fall on my house. And I really hope that you will approve this. Like I said in my appeal letter, I will plant another tree. I'll plant another live oak in my front yard, as long as it's far enough away that it's not going to endanger underground utilities, and that it will have room to grow and spread.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, anybody got a motion to approve or deny the appeal? All right.
I just want to state, when we have these appeals, I wish that we had an independent report that Darrell would provide us from an arborist as well.
It would cost her $350 for that report.
I hear what you're saying.
All right, no motion?
I'll make a motion to approve it.
Okay, we got a motion by Alderman Blackman,
Second.
second by Alderman Hinton. All in favor? Do you want to, I'm sorry, I've called for the vote. Did you want to require a plant a tree in its place that she offered?
Absolutely.
I'll
Yeah.
take her
So
word that she's
I'll
gonna do
amend
that.
my motion to approve it with the condition she plant another tree somewhere in the yard away from her utilities.
I know where you can get a free tree.
Me too.
Let me know where to get one.
See me after the meeting.
Got a motion by Alderman Blackman, second by Alderman Hinton. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay.
Thank you. So, any particular kind of tree you want planted in the front yard?
Live oak.
A live oak? Got you covered. Thank
Okay.
you.
All right, we got general public comment. The public is invited to address the board for up to 5 minutes each for a maximum period of 30 minutes. Please identify yourself before speaking.
Good evening. James Lewis, 805 Cane Ridge Drive. I've got several issues here. Number one is, I think at Holcomb and where the turn lane is, off of Government Street going north. That's where the administration building is. We talked about moving the southbound turning lane strike back so we can be able to make the right turn. And that still hasn't happened because I go by there constantly, and that's a serious problem because eventually I'm gonna ask y'all to give me a right rear tire.
We're gonna have to just put some temporary paint there. We've been waiting on paving, so we really didn't want to do it until the paving was done, but it's like,
Appreciate
we
it.
keep waiting on that.
On School Street, we talked about the sidewalk, and you got to, let's get, by the time you get the dirt, you'll hit somebody, because it's just that narrow there. And I know that y'all are dealing some with the railroad company as far as the sidewalk being extended up, coming across MLK. I thank Public Works for the due diligence they're doing, pick up all the waste and debris that's in the subdivision. They do a great job when you call them, they come back in and get it taken care of. Appreciate that. Serious situation happened on that road. I just happened to be at the right place at the right time, and one of the owners was out there. You got this big 18-wheeler. It's got this big monstrosity on the back of a backhoe, a super gigantic backhoe. There are power lines that are coming down. Some of them have the little yellow strip on it. This guy just happened to almost, but by the grace of God, right through the right time, to stop him from tearing that line down. Those trucks did not be able to come through there. You got going up into the research lab that you got that stretcher highway right there, and that's where they should be going, but they should not be doing it. And like I said, only by the grace of God. We didn't have a power situation there that where power lines are going to be torn down, people going to be refrigerators, ain't going to have no electricity, and then they're going to ask you for a food stamp. to place their food. But that's a serious situation that really needs to be addressed on that. Thank you very kindly on that thing.
Thank you. Anybody else like to address the board? Yes, sir.
One more, I just need a map, and I promise not to beat a dead horse. Thank you for that decision. I just want to make you aware of some work that we're doing. I'm Steve Parker, West Wind Ford. In our situation here, I just want to make you aware of a change in core jurisdiction, which it sounds like you guys are very familiar with. In our case, Davis Bayou comes up here. It's off, thank you, sir. It runs up here, and the detention pond discharges into it. There's current federal movement how can I say this? So every wetland here that is connected to that water of the U.S., Davis Bayou, is now regulated because it's adjacent. Over here, since this is cut off by dishing and roads, that adjacency is gone. So though you meet all three criteria, the functions of a wetlands are going on here, the Corps no longer regulates this. So that, and I see some head nods, so people understand that there's no longer any prohibition for areas like this to be cleared and developed. And so regulations are changing, but here's what's about to happen. And I got this from the Assistant Secretary of the Army last week. I was sitting 30 feet from him. They are trying to move adjacency just to the ordinary high water mark and any areas that are always connected by water. So jurisdiction here from Davis Bayou would go all the way down, and you're gonna have to imagine with me, to below 90, where it's estuarine marsh. That would be the only thing jurisdictional. Everything up there would no longer be jurisdiction. That ring a bell? Except for right to the edge of the creek. So I'm gonna shift my focus here with the last half of my time. That area, I presented to you before about the newly incorporated Ocean Springs, and I'm going to call it, for the sake of argument, the triangle between Ocean Springs Road up to 57 down to 90. We've started doing some voluntary modeling in there to think about, well, how much forested area is in there, and it's about 1,700 acres. And then we started looking at the current land use plan, which I think Amanda is starting to think about changing in that area. And the modeling now, U.S. Fish and Wildlife, USDA, U.S. Geological Service, they've actually decided to put all their brain power together and do about 90% of the base modeling. So you can begin to plug in numbers. And you can take out trees and you can see, well, what happens to the base flood? What happens to phosphorus? What happens to nitrogen? And you can do several scenarios and it'll kind of graph out for you. So I just want you to know, we submitted an abstract to the Society of the Ecological Restoration Southeast Conference, which we're going to present on August 17th. And I would like to come at some point to bring those scenarios and put back in front of you and give you a 10-minute presentation. And in a rare move, we've even started working with competitors like BMA because they're interested. They care about the watershed, to kind of start thinking about what that looks like and milling that around. So those are things we're working on. And with 56 seconds left, that triangle has got to be the hottest piece of real estate on the coast. I'm not telling you anything you don't know, right? So what we do in 10 years is going to matter. What we do in here matters too. It's a few trees, and there's fire risk and other things. And thank you, Alderman Tillis, for pointing out that's the way it works. You kind of hash it out, and then you get together and you work through it. And I hope we can do a good job here and come back with something better. But I think there are the water that the Corps used to carry, you soon will be carrying or not. It'll be up to you. But all the stormwater benefits, that's going to be kind of more open ticket very, very soon. So thank you for the time and thank you for your time.
Thank you. Hey, anybody else want to address the board? Yes, sir.
Hey, good afternoon. My name is Chris Blanchard. I'm here to talk about the Davidson Water Project. I want to start out by saying about 3.5 weeks ago, I became very involved as a citizen. I live at 210 Tomac Court, which is in the cul-de-sac right across where the work on Davidson Road is being done. Since I've been involved, I feel like between the aldermen that I've been communicating with that have information on what's going on and information they may have shared, I feel like our project is moving on pretty well. The movement has been really good. The subcontractor that was hired, if I want to say, is Otwell Services, if I'm correct. I've been in constant conversation with not only the foreman, but also the supervisors. Several of us also met out there with the owner of Vista Mica. The gentleman was very nice, polite. I felt like he was wanting to help us fix our problem. I've sent photographs. They have them. I plan to stay on top of it. I've actually told these guys, maybe a little bit of a joke, but I've told them that I am the citizen alderman and that I am working with my alderman to make sure that our project goes well. Some of the citizens have been very frustrated by it. I hear it, you know. I also know that you're probably voting on a payment increase for the project. And I would like to say from a contractor's point of view, the new subcontractors have done a good job. The general contractor has been on it. I was concerned last week that we were going to have a stop because I found out that y'all were looking to advance or pay them some additional money. And usually when you see that, you worry. And last week they worked Monday and Tuesday, and then Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday we didn't see them. And the reason around that was, which I found out Monday, was there were some decisions that had to be made on the box and how it was going to be put in and such. So I just would like to say that I'm grateful. I appreciate what's being done. I hope that the other citizens can work out their water situations as well. And I want to thank you for your time. Appreciate you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
I'll say good evening.
Good evening.
I'm Steve Light at 205 Beach Hill Road, and I want to thank y'all for your sacrifice every 2 weeks for what you do here. I get a new appreciation every time I come to one of these board meetings. As you drive across from Biloxi, across the, and also I'd like to say I'm a drug dealer. I'm legal, but anyway, I'm not a tree guy, but I appreciate trees. And I love trees in this town. And as you drive across the bridge coming from Biloxi, you'll see a little piece of property. It's 6 acres approximately. And I think all of y'all are familiar with it. It's north of the Yacht Club. And I think we're in a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to make use of this property for city use, for walkways. There's so many things that could be done with this property. And it's been for sale off and on I've been watching it for a dozen years or so. And maybe it's divinely appointed to be used by the city. In 1840, there were some people that went to the city of New York and they said, hey, let's carve out some green space out here. And I think, a couple hundred years after that, I don't think anybody, I doubt there would be anybody that would say that that was not a good idea. And I think it's a good idea that we could come up with some Go Mesa funds. There's so many ways, there's so much money to go, and BP money, and there's so many ways that we could fund this. I think the property owners who are a gentleman from Biloxi, a gentleman from North Alabama, and the St. Jude Research Hospital, they are each third owners in this property. And they would love to sell it. And I think it's time to step up to the plate. I think y'all are all divinely appointed to what you do, and I appreciate what you do. And all I ask is that you pray about doing something like this. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve.
Thank you, Steve.
Now, anybody else like to address the board? Yes, sir.
Good evening, Brian Rose. I'm in Ward 1. Good evening, Mayor and Board of Aldermen. I'm excited to announce a public safety initiative that a group of concerned citizens have been organized. We call it Project BOA, B-O-A, Board of Aldermen. We have more than 115 local volunteers, 12 of which are computer programmers. And our volunteers are stationed at strategic locations throughout Ocean Springs. And you've probably seen them out there. They've got iPads. Most of them are in neighborhoods close to where you live. Their job is to, every time they spot one of your vehicles, they log it into their iPad. And they will be doing this for the next several months. Every time your vehicle is spotted, the date, time, and location will be logged into an AI-assisted database. As the database grows, the system will start recognizing your movements. It'll be able to tell where you've been and how often you visit certain places and locations. And as more and more data is collected, we're going to be able to predict where you're going to be, like tomorrow or even next week. It's really great technology, and the information is going to be organized and searchable online for everybody to see it. And there's obvious benefits to this. I understand there's about 30 cars a year that are stolen in Ocean Springs. So if one of your cars gets stolen, we'll already have people that are watching you and your cars, so they'll be able to help recover that. And if there's ever a question about, where you've been at any particular time, we'll have that historical record. It's all in the name of public safety. So I can imagine you're going to be very excited about this. And if you're not, I can tell when I first started, there were people shaking their heads, and now you're kind of smirking. So you can tell that this is tongue-in-cheek, of course. But if when I first started talking about this, you felt a certain way about it, maybe somebody sitting outside your neighborhood tracking where your car is, where your family's going, and if you felt a certain way about that before you realized I was joking, then maybe you ought to think about how every one of your constituents feels, because this is exactly what you're doing to all of your constituents. The flock safety system does exactly what I just described. And I know a couple of years ago, it was passed through the consent agenda without any public discussion whatsoever. It was about 12 seconds it took to incorporate this, and this was at a time before the world was really talking about flock. I remember writing an article about it in the Ocean Springs Weekly Record, and the chief of police stood at this very podium, and he was so angry, and he said that everything in that article was a lie. Well, now we know it was not. It was actually what you signed up for, what your contract says. Everything in that contract was written into the article, and it is a reality not just here in Ocean Springs but across the country, and people are speaking up about it now. We were a little premature a couple of years ago, but now it has become commonplace for people to come to podiums like this and tell you that enough is enough. It's not cool to track your people in the name of safety. There are cities all across the country that are removing flock cameras from their cities. And as the 2-year subscription plan that you pay over $24,000 a year for comes to an end in a couple of months, I urge you to think back and at least have a public discussion about it. Invite the public and ask if this is what they want. Do we want to keep paying for this system and keep tracking our people? So, if you don't want to have a discussion, I urge you just to vote no when that time comes. But I think that allowing the people to have a voice in this would be something special. And if not, I urge you to not renew the flock safety contract when it comes up in a couple of months. Thank you very much.
Right, anybody else would like to address the board? All right, we'll move on. Phyllis, we got Alderman's form.
I just want to say thank you to the Parks and Rec Director, Stephen Glorioso, for all the hard work you did down at the Fort Maurepas restrooms. I haven't got an opportunity to go by there, but I heard they're outstanding. Got all the paper off the ceilings. I got new hand dryers.
Got a good maintenance department that took care of it.
Great, all right, good job on that, thank you.
Painted the whole.
Painted inside also?
Not inside, right?
Yeah, they painted out.
Yeah.
But we painted inside.
No, I heard it really looks good, so thank you.
Sounds good.
That's all I have.
Ms. Dennis?
Yes, thanks to Public Works for getting those mirrors up. One in a blind spot on the underpass going into Lover's Lane, Cherokee Glen, and another one at the corner of Porter and the Beach for those boat trailers and people that gotta make wide turns. We appreciate that. I also want to thank the the residents of Ward 2. I had a ward meeting last week, and you never know who's gonna show up or how many people are gonna show up. And we had approximately 90 people come to a ward meeting. And of course, we talked about updates in the city, and we talked about the tree canopy renewal project. But in addition to that, I got a list of things suggestions. I let everybody put suggestions on a board, and some really interesting suggestions that I'll be sharing with the different departments and eventually with the board, hopefully. And I just appreciate my constituents for showing up and being a part of that. One other thing, we met with the Daughters of American Revolution, Stephen Glorioso, myself, and the mayor, and Mr. Hinton, and they came down and found a really good idea, hopefully to put their marker out, and so we'll be working on that in the next several months, and hopefully it'll be something we can be really proud of at the fort. So
They were really excited about that. I'm looking forward to it.
yes, they were. That's all I got.
On the way.
Okay, I want to make a motion to reconsider the approval of a variance to reduce the required rear setback, yard setback, to allow the construction of an addition on the existing residence at 279 Holcomb Boulevard, PIDN 611350 .050. After further reviewing of the measurements required were incorrectly calculated, the requested variance based on the site plan and actually called for a variance of 5 foot and a reduce of a setback from 25 foot to 20, which is less than the 25%. I went over and measured it physically with my tape measure. From the back of the slab to where the resident wants to pull the slab out is 7.5 foot. From the edge of the slab to the fence is 16 foot, and that's from the fence, and then to the property line is another 5 foot. That actually is in the 25% variance. So with that being said, I want to make a motion to approve the variance that allows the setback of 20% to allow the construction of an addition to an existing residence at 279 Holcomb Boulevard, PIDN 61135041.050.
Okay, got a motion by Alderman Wade.
Second.
Second by Alderman Tillis. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Nay.
All right. We've got, is that all you have?
Yeah.
Ms. Pfeiffer?
I'm gonna ask about where are we with the agreement for the East Beach boat launch? I guess it had to be finalized. We had 6 weeks, and then the signs go up. Do we have an update on that, please?
I got an update this morning that we're expected to have an effective date on that contract of September 1st. That they're getting in touch with Mr. Farnsworth from the Public Works Department to place the portable restroom and the trash cans. And then with that just happened today. Hopefully we'll have an agreement to be finalized next at the recess meeting so that it will be in effect on September 1st.
Okay.
I think they're doing signage also.
And they're doing
Public Works or the lab does the sign?
The lab, yes,
Thank you. That's all I have.
All right, Alderman Blackman.
I guess maybe for discussion, I'd like to bring something up. Is we now have a vacancy on the HPC with Ms. Monroe resigning. We still have active applications, so I would like to, for discussion, say maybe we appoint Preston Lewis, who was an active applicant.
A motion, need a second.
I got a second.
Got a motion from Alderman Blackman, second from Alderman Wade. Now, if y'all want to discuss?
I would like to discuss, I think, this coming at us cold. I don't remember some of the other applicants, so I'm not prepared.
I agree.
There was only 2 applications on that, so we reappointed the Gino White back to the HPC, and Ms. Monroe resigned day before yesterday from HPC. So I think having an active applicant, Preston Lewis, I think he would do a very fine job on it.
That would
That's
be
the only other
That would only be for the remaining.
Her remaining term.
Which is when, do you know?
Do not.
I think it would be
Toward the
fair
end
to
of-
re-advertise as it's a new position. I think you kind of get into sketchy territory if you're just kind of tacking on.
Well, just a few things about Preston. Wouldn't be part of the mayor's council for
Years.
He's
many
very
years.
involved.
He's very involved, very good.
Shows up for board meetings.
I mean, it's not really about the person as much as the process.
Well, I mean, if it wouldn't, I
Like I
think
said, I
it
brought
was
it
just
up.
last
Make a
week.
motion for
So
discussion.
I think being as fresh as it is, being 1 week out, or 2 weeks out, I guess it was the last meeting that we did it. The application is fairly new. I mean, it's valid, so I'll call for a vote. Y'all can vote it down. We got a motion and a second.
And then we haven't been able to make a quorum in the last 2 months.
Yeah.
In a while.
I can promise you he will
He'll
make
be
those
there.
meetings.
We need more than somebody be there. We need somebody with some historic experience. And I don't have anything against him. I don't even know him, but I think we need somebody more than just a warm body. We need somebody that has historic experience. And is he that person?
Karen, we've had people on there and we haven't been able to have.
I understand that.
Yeah, but Preston is engaged in Ocean Springs.
Cares about it.
He's a young man that is willing to dig his teeth in it. And I think giving him the opportunity is something that this board needs to consider.
I will call it all in favor. All for the vote.
Aye.
Nay.
Aye.
Nay.
Aye.
Nay.
Aye.
Is that all you have, Rob, or you got anything? All right, Alderman Messenger.
I just would like to thank the residents from Madison Place that came out and shared the information and insight that y'all have. Y'all really make me proud. It just, to see that dedication and love for your community and each other, it just, great job. And also I'd like to thank the boys for listening to them. Thank you. And then on another note, Alan, do you have an ETA on the street signs for Berwick and South Ward? I know we talked about it a while back and I don't know.
We got some blanks come in yesterday, but I'm not sure the color. So it should be within the next 2 weeks.
Awesome. Thank you. That's all.
It's supposed to be green or black?
Got a couple of things. There's one thing that I'm going to send all the aldermen and the mayor out. It is from Alan Toronto. He has a business that is basically, it's called Trash Talk Marketing Proposal. It's for Ocean Springs. He's started in Biloxi, but what it is, he has trash cans that he puts advertising on. He buys the trash cans, he locates them in Ocean Springs. He would have to come before the city to get permission. So this is something that I'm going to send out all y'all, let you look it over, and then if y'all want to entertain it, he'll come down and make a presentation to tell what it's about. So, and so that's one thing. like to also thank Public Works for getting out and cleaning all the ditches out in East Ocean Springs and making your way back here, so that's a really good thing. Thank you to the police department for y'all's keeping up downtown and out in Ocean Springs. And the big thing I'd like to ask is, do we have an update on the signage for Government Street for the no parking on the golf cart between Cash and Russell? I know that was being worked on and kind of.
They was ordered today, and they said it's probably a 5-day turnaround.
Okay, and I appreciate that. And I've had
That's for the small signs, not the big ones. We're still waiting on for the others to be ordered with the signage for downtown.
Okay. And as always, I'd like to thank the city staff for the continued good job, so thank you all. Mayor.
All right. I think I'm gonna just pass for the night. I think we've been here late enough. So thank everybody for participating and everybody's talking. Appreciate that.
Do we have an executive session?
I don't think we do we? So we need a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn until our recess meeting.
Motion to recess.
Got a motion to recess by Alderman Pfeiffer, seconded by Mr. Blackman. All in favor? Any opposed? All right.